Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. John Partridge, William Leach here to bring you yet more Pauper action on your Monday evening to try and get you through the cold, dark night that is outside. We made it here through the cold, freezing conditions. Well, you look a little bit under the weather from the weekend ahead, but we're going to keep it nice and easy for you. I won't let you do any talking yet. We're going to send it straight down to the feature match area for round number 1 of coverage. Here we have a blue-black control versus Jeskai Kuldotha. We're going to give the players the go-ahead, and we'll be on to round number 1 of coverage. Players are going to crack off. So, Jeskai Kuldotha, we saw last week. Reminder why it's Jeskai and not just Boris Kuldotha.
They're splashing blue for Muldrifter.
Muldrifter's a good card, I hear.
I love Muldrifter.
So, what we will do, to make it a little bit easier, we will pull up the very powerful 5-mana 2/2 flyer.
With Evoke for 3.
The most powerful thing is you can evoke it for 2 and a blue. So obviously evoke is, you may cast this spell for its evoke cost. If you do, it is sacrificed when it enters the battlefield, but it draws 2 cards.
Yeah, so it's either a divination or a 5-mana 2/2.
So we're going to see Nino here on his blue-black control list. We're going to start with a Night's Whisper, 1 and a black, lose 2, draw 2. Interesting version of going for that rather than Sun in Blood. Obviously, he was able to find his Night's Whispers, as some of us had to settle for not finding Night's Whisper and dealing with Sun in Blood. Instead, we're going to see a pass back of the turn. Nino down to 19. We're going to see a Forgotten Cave vert draw for the turn. See what he can find for turn number 2 for Thomas. He has a bit of a free reign here, but we're going to see a cycle of a
Secluded Step.
Secluded Step. We'll get it right this week. So we're going to see a drawing of what looks like a great furnace there. Plenty of lands.
That's a lot of lands.
That's a lot of lands and not a lot to do with it. So he's going to have a quick count of how many cards he has in hand. We're going to see 7. We're going to pass the turn straight back to Nino. Draw for the turn. And see what he finds.
Well, luckily, by the look of things, a lot of those lands cycle.
It's pretty useful. So we're going to see a main deck duress here from Nino. He's going to see a hand of 5 lands, Ichor Wellspring, Galvanic Blast.
Would you just take the Ichor Wellspring here because it draws cards?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if he killed, like, the thing at the moment, it's not turned on, so if you, say, landed a Augur of Bolas, it would allow you to at least attack for 1 point of damage with it. But it'd be interesting to see which version Nino is, whether he is on how many of the Delve cards he's running, what his creature win conditions are, because obviously it's not mono black, it is blue and black. We see at least a couple of counter spells in hand for Nino here. Going to cycle a Forgotten Cave and untap and draw for his turn, see if he can find some action. See what he can do. So we're going to see the Ichor Wellspring. Interesting, he took the Galvanic Blast. We're actually going to see it. We're going to see it mana leaked.
Okay.
Mana leak, a counterspell that is definitely less popular than I would have imagined.
It's counter it unless they pay 3 more mana.
Yep. So it's 1 in a blue, counter target spell, unless its controller pays 3 colourless mana. We're normally used to seeing counterspell in the counter slot.
Yeah.
Maybe he's running both and obviously wanted another counterspell on top. Logic maybe not the best option, but we're going to see 7 cards being delved away, and we're going to see the emergence of the Gurmag Angler, the 5/5 zombie fish. Pretty good threat.
Yeah, big fish. 4-turn clock. Well, 5-turn clock, unfortunately.
Well, it was a 5-turn clock.
Okay.
It's now taken a journey to nowhere. We're going to see a Prophetic Prism here and a draw. At least he's found some cards. Looks like another Galvanic Blast. It looks like a Muldrifter in hand and what looks like a Glint Hawk as well. We're going to see another Dismal Backwater enter the battlefield for Nino, going up to 19 life again. Quick read of Prophetic Prism. Obviously, it is a way of filtering your mana, even if and drawing a card at the same time. So it's 1 tap, make a mana of any colour, and add your mana pool. So we can see a a pass back of the turn here for Nino and see what he's going to let Thomas do now. Mana Leak's an interesting card in this format.
Mana Leak is very interesting, especially right now because obviously he can just pay for Mana Leak here.
Because it's only for 3 and not say 4 or anything like that. It means that actually some of the threats are so cheap in this format that it can just get outclassed. And actually, a lot of the decks want to draw 4 or 5 lands, which isn't normal for your standard aggro deck. And Kuldotha, the Jeskai version and both Boris Kuldotha are quite, I would say, aggressive decks. They're playing some very cheap-costed, high-powered creatures, or they're making many goblins and trying to go wide. So it's still quite an aggressive slant to the decks. We can see a Azorius Chancery here, and we're going to see an end-step Disfigure dealing with the Glint Hawk. And we're going to also see the last card in hand is a Brainstorm. It's like Nino pretty much out of cards already. He's going to have a quick look, see what he finds. And he's going to have to put 2 back on top of his library in any order. And he'll be drawing one of those for the turn.
I know it's more mana efficient to play the Brainstorm during the end step, but would you hold on to it and take the extra draw?
Yeah, probably. Because
you have like 5 lands out.
Yeah, you're not running short of lands. We're going to see another duress here. We're going to see the Galvanic Blast, the Muldrifter, and the Glinthawk, the only cards able to be taken. That is a F&M promo Muldrifter. I do believe very, very pretty card there on the battlefield. We're going to see the Galvanic Blast, the take. And what did you have? What was the other card that you drew, Nino? So that was 1. Do you have another card here? We're going to see an Augur Bolas. That's quite a nice way of digging deep. Maybe find some action. Maybe find another card drawing spell. Or a removal spell for what's about to land next turn. But the Muldrifter is just going to start getting it very far ahead as we see Disfigure, the find here for Nino.
That's a really nice find because it deals with everything that Thomas has in hand.
So if you're Thomas, do you just sort of go, oh, well, it's going to die, but I draw 2 cards?
Yeah.
Or do you play the Glinthawk first? Looks like he's drawn a Lightning Bolt for the turn. But no.
What value would you get from playing the Glinthawk, though?
You don't use a lot of your mana, which is, I guess, the thing as well. This does mean he uses all of his mana. He's going to draw 2 cards. Looks like we found an Is It Boilerworks, which would be quite a nice play for the turn, allow him to pick up one of his lands. But he's going to instead play the Tranquil Cove. And that is the only card that you know left in hand. Pass back at the turn. The Disfigured. It's interesting that the control deck has run out of cards before the mid-range aggro deck.
But that's primarily because of how much value the Kuldotha Jeskai deck has. You will draw a lot of cards. The problem is that a lot of the cards that do draw you cards also do nothing.
Yeah, Ichor Wellspring, Prophetic Prism do replace themselves, but against the control deck isn't exactly the best. So we're going to see the Ponder. He's going to look at the top 3, and he doesn't like any of them. So we're going to see a shuffle here for Nino. Needs to try and find some advantage. So it's interesting that Nino has gone more down the 1 mana cantrip version of the deck, not using, say, Read the Bones or Divination. Obviously, he has Night's Whisper as a nice 2, but he hasn't gone much higher. And maybe it'd be interesting to see, as you say, if he's running the Mystical Teachings version, or whether he's running the Forbidden Alchemy version, or if you like some of us and you like so much value, you play both of them in the same deck. And
hopefully we'll someday get punished for it.
Oh yeah, you definitely get punished. That's the joy of the format, though, is you can get punished one day and then punish someone else the following day. We're going to see a draw here. We're going to see a white artifact land, which I still don't remember the name of.
Ancient Den, I believe it was.
Ancient Den, that'll do. We'll go with the Ancient Den.
I'll type it in to see if I'm right. Yeah.
Oh, powerful wizard you are.
So I've played this matchup from both sides, and this situation of the control deck top decking and Kuldotha Jeskai has a bunch of cards in hand always happens. But as I said, a lot of your cards will just do nothing in the matchup. Like, you've got bird spells which can go face or kill an Augur of Bolas, but against the big fish it does nothing. And Nino's sitting on a very comfortable 20 life total here.
Something about the game doesn't feel comfortable for Nino, though.
Which is
that he
card
feels
advantage.
Quite far behind because of the amount of cards in hand for his opponent.
Which is why I keep telling you to play the curse.
Get him with the curse. I hope you know what it is. Curse of Blue Magic. It's not that at all. We're going to see a Diabolic Edict here. So yeah, so Curse of the Bloody Tome. Enchant player at the beginning of Enchant player's upkeep. That player puts top 2 cards of his or her library into her graveyard.
Oh, it is 3 mana.
It is 3 mana, not 4. We're going to see a Diabolic Edict here, and we're going to see, it's interesting, he is Blue-Black Delver of Secrets, which does explain the large number of Ponders and Brainstorms, able to try and set up for his Delver to flip. We're going to see another Muldrifter in hand, which I'm pretty sure is a good place to start here, along with a core Skyfisher as the follow-up, if he were so to decide. Picking up the Prophetic Prism seems pretty good. The value train keeps rolling. We're going to draw 1, and we're going to draw 2. Looks like we found an Ichor Wellspring and a Windscard Crag there for Thomas. We're going to tap 2 mana. Play this core Skyfisher, pick up the Muldrifter.
Value.
Wow. So at the moment, well, let's keep account of the additional cards so far drawn by Thomas's bounce deck. We will go for Prophetic Prism, which is 2 cards. There's 2 Mole Drifters, so this is 6 cards. Probably going to go to 8 with the next Mole Drifter that he may find. So we're going to see if the Delver of Secret flips. It does not. So either a land or another creature there for Nino. And unfortunately, he's starting to fall behind. These flyers will start doing quite a lot of work as we see another core Skyfisher. That is it's a good draw. Then we can see the Mole Drifter enter the battlefield. Now, what was the draw? Oh, nothing. So we're going to draw 2 cards. We're going to see looks like another Journey to Nowhere and a Swiftwater Cliffs. Draw there for an attack for 2 from Thomas.
And this is the part where Nino's just going to get swamped by this advantage that Thomas has accrued. Playing yet another core Skyfisher.
Oh no, he's not going to go pick up the Mole Drifter this turn. He realises he has too many cards in hand and doesn't want to try and discard too many of them. We're going to see Great Furnace here, and we're going to see, it looks like an, oh no, it's Prophetic Prism again. Obviously the card train needs to keep rolling. So you got Galvanic Blast off the top. Pretty good answer to the Delver of Secrets when you have this many artifacts in play, as we currently do count 4 artifacts, so Metalcraft definitely online.
So, if you're Thomas here and that Delver of Secrets hasn't flipped, what would you presume the card is?
A creature or a land?
Well, obviously, but
well, if it was a creature, he's going to play it.
Exactly, so I think it's a land.
I would put a fair amount of, as we see, a Kuldotha Rebirth draw here with the Ichor Wellspring. Oh, the value train has returned. We're going to see the sacrificing of an artifact to draw a card with Ichor Wellspring, make 3 goblins as well. This is where the deck really starts to get rolling. Pick up those cards on the side. So unfortunately, is it just me or does every Pauper player not have any tokens for their decks?
I've not seen one yet.
Definitely feel like we are providing the majority of the tokens for them.
You can see Galvanic Blast and Lightning Bolt in hand, so there's 7 damage which should just come out of nowhere. And an attack for 6.
Yep, no blocks available here for Nino. Unfortunately, the blue-black deck running out of steam, playing a little bit too small, we're going to see. And we're going to look at the Lightning Bolt and the Galvanic Blast and the pass back of the turn here to Nino. We're going to see what flips. And no, again, no flip here for the Delver. And no blocker available either against this flying onslaught. He's going to have a quick look through his graveyard, see if there's anything he can do.
I presume it's a creature now because it looks like he's going to delve.
Yep, looks like it maybe. But again, at this point, are you worrying about delving, or are you just going to...
Okay. Is that a...
Oh, it's a Mortuary Mire.
Oh.
Oh, interesting card. So Mortuary Mire, Lidder's pull that one up.
I believe that's put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library.
I believe it is as well. Which obviously means that Delver isn't going to flip anytime soon. Do I spell it? Oh, I spelt it right as well. Mortuary Mire, Battle for Zendikar, common. When it enters the battlefield tapped, when Mortuary Mire enters the battlefield, you may put a target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Tap and make a black mana. We're now going to see 7 damage being thrown upstairs here, putting Nino down to a very low life total of 7.
1 point of damage is all that Thomas needs in order to...
Doesn't look like he was able to find it. But he's going to attack for lethal damage. He also has all the goblin tokens as well, which can't all be blocked. So
I forgot about the goblins.
the goblins were existence. Obviously, what we're going to do to Thomas afterwards is we're going to take him outside and remind him very subtly that he should be bringing his goblin tokens with him for his Kuldotha Boris deck. His tokens, but as we see Thomas taking down game number 1, moving up 1 game to 0 against Nino and his blue-black control list. Now, I did not expect that to happen.
You didn't expect the Kuldotha Jeskai to...
Not in that way, not burying the blue-black control list into value and advantage. I know the Kuldotha deck has a lot of that, but I did not appreciate it was that much. Especially when you put it, I think it's the first perspective we've seen it against a control deck.
I think that's how they win the matchup.
Yeah, that's how most mid-range decks win the matchup. But again, it was such a vast difference between the two of them. Is what I mean.
Definitely. Like there were times when we were scared that Thomas was going to discard.
It was night and day that matchup was between the two decks, and Neo had a really good start. Like he had a really good start, just not quite able to finish off the advantage that he gained in the first few turns. We're going to see what sort of deck he is playing. So we see, obviously, Counterspell is a really good place to be. What other cards do we have in the deck? Now, I must say, those Edict effects look a lot worse.
I just saw a Counterspells from Nino's deck, so he's definitely playing the Counterspells as well.
So it looks like he went for a more counter-heavy deck to what you might normally expect from the Blue-Black controllers. I mean, Blue-Black control is normally sort of 4 Counterspell, and a lot of removal spells.
Maybe his idea is that you can play this Delver of Secrets on turn 1, let it flip, and then you just want to protect it for the rest of the game.
Which is also another option as well.
In my opinion, if you're doing that, just play the mono-blue version. Mono-blue Delver with Dust Sprites. And
yeah, that's also true. Currently, as we look at the metagame share of Pauper, you have Is It Delver, number 1. Kuldotha Boris has moved to number 2. Mono-blue Delver to number 3. 5-color Tron to number 4. Blue-black Control, hello, number 5. And then Elves, which is a very big switch from what we saw last week, where you had Elves and Tron running the top of the Pauper tree. But I guess that's the thing with this format. It changes around so much, so quickly. It's one of those different things. So, interesting one, obviously, he's decided to play the copies of Delver. And we didn't see any copies of Mauldrift. We saw Augur Bolas, Gurmag Angler, and the Delver of Secrets. We saw Preordains, Brainstorms, a couple of Disfigures, pretty good removal spell. Did forget that one is also legal in this format.
I'm just having a cheeky look through his deck while we can see it on camera.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, being able to actually look at the cards is very useful, rather than hold up to the chest. If you're a very to the chest player,
it's much
quite frustrating for us.
Definitely much easier when they are holding it open. So see what the players are going to look at for game number 2 here from Dark Sphere in London. Our Monday Night Pauper take you through this cold, dark, dreary Monday night. Definitely cold walking down
cold
from work. Oh my goodness. I felt my chin start to stay in one place.
It's much warmer here than in Germany.
Is it? What's in Germany at the moment? Cold. Because that's where you were over the weekend.
Freezing.
That's where you were over the weekend, wasn't it?
Yes, I arrived this morning.
Doing your dirty Yu-Gi-Oh tournament.
Don't judge me.
No, I won't judge you too much. Moment of craving. I want to play this card now. Play this in Standard and Pauper. Moment of craving. It says Gain 2 life on it. So players are going to shuffle up for game number 2. Sideboards have been decided. Moment of Craving going to pull up might be very much a new card into the black X decks, either control or not. Very good against the burn decks and very good against the red creature decks.
It's 2 mana.
Yep, -2/-2. You gain 2 life. It's a really good removal spell.
Wow.
It's 2 mana, admittedly. Welcome, Donald K. Magic. We do agree. The salt is real with the Yu-Gi-Oh player over his weekend. Hit the table and pass it on. So players going to shuffle up and see what game number 2. Thomas Barberia won game to the good against Nino. So who was it sending that message then?
I don't know who that
is. I thought he went straight to your phone to find out who it was. It's like, damn them, I will find who they are.
I mean, you're not wrong. Magic
dirty.
is a far better game.
Yes, it is. 100% agree with that one.
But Yu-Gi-Oh is a far easier game.
Oh, don't be silly. Magic's easy enough. Magic is as difficult as you choose to make it. Or as easy as you choose to make it as well.
I balled out my Siege Rhinos against the controllers.
No, that is called bad player. Yes, so PPTQ final, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so PPTQ final.
Against Patchy.
Yeah, against Patchy Sanchez. Playing against Blue-Eye-Red Flash.
Yeah.
His opponent puts 3 spell colours into play. All of them have removal spells underneath them. Taps out.
And then
dear hero here has 1 white mana open and a Path to Exile in hand and passes the turn rather than making the House of Cards all fall down and win the game. Well, you won that one anyway because you went Siege Rhino into Siege Rhino and then boarded them out. Oh, well, that was definitely fun covering that one. But back to Pauper action here. Players still shuffling on to game number 2.
Secretly, that was my objective. I just wanted to make it a fun, enjoyable thing for the commentary, just to laugh.
Sure you did.
It's a much better opening hand.
It was pretty good in the last game as well. It turned out to be anyway. Main deck duress is not quite getting there for Nino, as we're going to pass the deck over to get cut by Thomas and be on to game number 2 of round 1 of coverage here from our Monday night Pauper. He's got a Muldrifter in hand, which feels pretty good. Can evoke that one quite quickly.
I don't see any blue mana to evoke it, though, unless there's Prophetic Prism.
So it looks like we have a counterspell in hand already. Saw the white border, but no keep here for Nino. Obviously, no either one or no lands. Looks like 3 lands. Looks like all 3 cycle lands. I must say, what I had realised is this Kuldotha deck has very few enter the battlefield untapped lands outside of like the 8
Basics.
Are there that many basics in the deck? I mean, you're running the 8 artifact lands, but you've got the bounce lands, the life gain lands, and the cycle lands, which all come into play tapped. So there's a lot of lands that come into play tapped in this deck. It's a good job it's so mana efficient.
Definitely. And I think that's part of the reason. But you want to have this flexibility of your mana that you kind of have to take that sacrifice.
Yes, definitely.
We can't be playing plateaus, tropical islands in this format.
You can't play them anywhere, they're not common.
That's what I'm saying.
Why would you mention that? So Nino going to shuffle up, take a mulligan down to 6.
Literally what I just said.
See if his 6 is any better than the 7 that he looked at. I want to bring 2 Pauper decks to my local game store to randomly play against each other before drafts. Which 2 would you suggest for easy to understand decks that friends could borrow and play well against each other? Any Pauper deck.
Any Pauper deck. I wouldn't bring...
Probably wouldn't bring Kuldotha.
I wouldn't bring that. I wouldn't bring the Tron decks, if I'm honest.
Sure, yep. But most like Delver decks.
The Delver decks are... They have a curve to them. They're very easy to pilot, difficult to master. And that's the same with the majority of Pauper decks. Yeah. So it pretty much comes down to who's the better player. Yeah. And that's why this format's great.
Mono Black's another one. Again, very easy to play, very easy to learn.
Yeah. You can play the control deck.
So we're going to see a Mortuary Mire there. And we're going to see another tap land here for Thomas to start the game. So Nino, draw for turn number 2. Do we find another land? Or are we on 1 land at the moment? Looks like we're going to duress. That's a different art duress this time as well. So we're going to see a hand of Ichor Wellspring, Muldrifter, Core, Skyfisher, and I have no idea what the red card is. Could you tell me what the red card is?
It's one of the blasts. I think that's... It's the one that counts as a blue spell. I know that.
Red Elemental Blast? Or Pyroblast?
No, I think it's Pyroblast. And I think, coming back to the conversation we was having before about the difference between them, this is the one that has the if clause. And is ridiculously expensive online.
Counter target spell if it is blue, or destroy target permanent if it is blue. So yes, correct, it is Pyroblast. Reprinted in which set?
Eternal Masters.
All right.
It says it right there.
All right. So choose 1. Counter target spell if it's blue, destroy target permanent if it's blue, which means you can target any permanent, obviously getting triggers for things like Swift Spit. Obviously, unfortunately, Nino's hand not resulting in a second land so far, and we're going to see the Kuldotha Boros deck start to pull ahead with the Ichor Wellsprings. Pretty good when you have Core Skyfisher as your backup in hand. Another Core Skyfisher, the draw there for Thomas. We're going to draw for the turn. We found another land. There's an Evolving Wilds this turn. Yes.
You're on the play.
Yep.
With a Mortuary Mire and Duress. How good must your hand be to keep that 1 land hand?
Pretty bad. Because you have 1 land.
Well, obviously pretty bad, but to make the decision to keep that hand, your spells must be amazing.
Yeah. I think Nino may have gone on the fact that he's mulliganed to 6. Can he really mulligan to 5 and beat the Kuldotha deck? I probably would have mulliganed, because I'd rather not
play
take
the game.
Risk. I'd rather try and hit my land drops, but unfortunately Nino decided to keep his 6 in this case. We're going to see Thomas take full advantage with Core Skyfisher, picking up the Ichor Wellspring. Nino shuffles past his deck back after resolving his Evolving Wilds. Very nice one from Ixalan.
No, that's Hour of Devastation. No, the Evolving Wilds. Sorry, no. I'm looking at the island. That is a beautiful island.
It's a very nice island. It's not white bordered, so that's a small problem.
It's not white bordered, so it's better.
No. White bordered for days. For days. We're going to see an untap here. 2 mana being tapped. Does he have a removal spell to deal with the...
Does the control deck with all spells in hand have removal spell?
Pyroblast it. Oh. Thomas doesn't pull the trigger. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Pyroblast it. Get it. Get him. Going to see a draw here. Looks like he may have found a third land. Another island hit. Mismatched islands as well. All of the tilt factor for Will here. You can see the pain in his eyes, the mismatched basics. And Nino's starting to draw out of it now a little bit. He gets some lands into play now, able to try and cast his spells. You're going to see the Icarus Wellspring return to the battlefield, draw for the card. Maybe play the Core Skyfisher and return it yet again to his hand. And also gets to play his 5th land drop.
Draw all the cards.
Prophetic Prism, I believe that card is?
Yes, it's one of the older artworks.
Yes, we can see Manalik here to deal with a Prophetic Prism. Nino actually able to cast some spells. We're going to see a secluded step here for Thomas, and we're going to attack for 2 with the Core Skyfisher.
It's actually a fine land drop to make because you have the bounce lands.
You also have Core Skyfisher.
You also have Core Skyfisher.
We're going to draw for the turn here from Nino. Finds another island, so we're actually able to play our cards this time, which will be a very happy position for him to be in. He still has to deal with the 2/3 flyer. But it looks like we're going to play an Augur Bolas here from Nino. See what he can find for his turn. So maybe a Night's Whisper would be pretty nice. Draw some extra cards, try and find his 5th land drop for next turn.
I see a Duress and a Doomblade. I'm not sure about.
Looks like he is going to take the Doomblade. Now I would definitely be looking. They don't go back on top. We'll just go quickly deal with that one.
Yeah. They do go on the bottom of their library, which is good for Nino because it means he will hit his land drops. There you go, you can see John's leg in the corner. There we go. An attack for 2 from Thomas. Very easy to make. It's got flying, 3 damage.
And we're going to see a Doomblade here to deal with the Skyfisher. Thomas, yep, can't do anything, but I've got this Pyroblast, but can't do a lot with it against the black removal spells.
I'd slam the Muldrifter here.
Would you? I suppose your opponent's tapped out.
Exactly.
He said he goes for
your opponent's tapped out, you can draw cards and make a 2/2 flyer.
He said he's going for the Icarus Wellspring, and then he's going to follow up with the
Core Skyfisher.
Core Skyfisher. Interesting enough, he actually tapped out a red mana.
It's interesting.
And another secluded step here for Thomas, passing the turn back, deciding, actually, I don't need this red mana. I have a 2/3 in play. Draw for the turn instead. Nino, what is your draw? You have an Evolving Wilds, which does at least get you your 2nd black mana source, which would be very happy and helpful to see right now. Actually be able to start casting his spells again.
Is the fact that it's a 2/3 relevant compared to?
So we're going to see the Diabolic Edict and an attack for 1 here from the Augur Bolas. Thomas down to a grand total of 22 life. Those gain life lands have done wonders this match for him. He's going to see a Great Furnace to draw for the turn. And a full grip of cards and at least 1 Icarus Wellspring and a Muldrifter. Allow me to... Do you think he slams the Muldrifter this turn? You didn't when you were tapped out. Now you have the risk of your opponent having something. So we're going to see the Icarus Wellspring instead. Sees another Pyroblast off the top. Pretty good defense against the counter spells now. Obviously just needs to be able to cast it. So does he have a land to play the Muldrifter as well? No, he does not. He has a Journey to Nowhere. Looks like Pyroblast, and Galvanic Blast. So do you use one to get rid of the Augur Bolas yet?
It's poking you for 1. I wouldn't bother.
Oh, in response, we're going to counter the Brainstorm. Yes, like this.
I really like this. You know your opponent wants lands and the value they get with Brainstorm and the Evolving Wilds.
Going to match it this time. I can't do anything, unfortunately. Thomas has got both the cards. He's going to untap. Nino, unfortunately, getting pretty... That was pretty savage.
He has 2 cards in hand now.
And now 1.
Oh my.
That Brainstorm would have been huge if either of them had been able to resolve, especially with that Evolving Wilds, effectively making it a perfect Brainstorm, should he not like a couple of the cards that were on top of his deck. We're going to see the Muldrifter enter the battlefield here. Imagine there was a counter spell, would it be pretty nice? So we can see 2 cards being drawn.
Unfortunately, there's not. And this is the part where Thomas is we're gonna have the repeat of game 1 where Thomas is hopefully just gonna draw cards and accrue the same amount of advantage that he needs in order to win this. Bolt, Galvanic Blast, Journey to Nowhere, and Great Furnace is the hand.
It's pretty strong, very reactive, but with a 2/2 in play.
I'm surprised he kept the bolts in.
I think Bolt's fine because so here's a strange one. I would rather keep in Bolt than Galvanic Blast because I know you should draw enough artifacts.
Yeah, between your lands.
Yeah,
and
but Bolt is always 3 damage as well. I would just keep them all in. I think there are worse cards in them. Like I think the Glint Hawk's pretty bad.
Yeah,
and I could see that coming out because I think you have enough 1-drops that are better. You're also a deck that doesn't run a huge amount of like play this on turn 1.
And as you said, there's the amount of tap lands that it's very hard to do.
Yeah. So having like a Bolt as your turn 2 play against, say, a turn 1 Delver from your opponent seems a lot stronger, or a Galvanic Blast even, than having your Glint Hawk still in the deck. And there hasn't been a huge number of cards come in from the Kuldotha side deck.
No, I think it was just the 3 Pyroblasts.
Yeah. 3 or 4 Pyroblasts seems that all you really need in this matchup, as we're going to see 1 damage being dealt.
I take it.
I lied. He actually still has the Glint Hawk. So working what he boarded out could be an interesting one. Because I'm lost as to what he's boarded out.
We maybe could ask at the end of this.
Yep, certainly can. Actually, while you're doing that, I am going to go and have a look at his deck so you can carry on talking to our lovely viewers.
Sure thing. So he plays the Glint Hawk, or I can't remember. Glint Hawk bounces the amount of cards he's drawing. This is disgusting. As John arrives with the deck. Seeing. Okay. Yeah, I actually agree with this.
So the 3 cards that came out were
Core
Sanctifier
Sanctifiers
and 2 copies of
Lone Missionary.
Yep, seems pretty good. Also, other ones in his sideboard are we have some Flag Bearers, some Electricaries, an Ancient Grudge, the Gorilla Shamans, the Mill Enchantment Curse, and some Relic of Progenitus. Now, I'm glad I could recognise card art because they're all in.
They're all foreign. Now is your chance to share embarrassing secrets.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell them what you want about me.
There isn't much I could tell him. He could tell more embarrassing stories about me than I could about him. Definitely. I am a... Yeah. The only thing I could say is I pranked him earlier. I sent him a message about 5 o'clock and I said, oh, sorry, I'm feeling really bad. I'm not going to turn up today. He's like, and you tell me this now? But that's literally it. There's not much I could say about John.
What illustrious, hateful secrets did you reveal about me, apart from my love of mid-range decks and grindy green-black decks?
I told them the prank I pulled on you earlier. I told them the prank I pulled on you earlier.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry, he was going to get punished for that one. It was going to be the, oh, yeah, I was going to post up and go, yep, my commentator is a scrub, let me down. I'm going to have to find a better person to do it with.
Well, that wouldn't be hard.
No, that's true. So, Journey to Nowhere in to play here, dealing with the Gomag Angler. Nino down to a grand total of 5 life. Pretty low at the moment. Can he find a way of getting out of it? He sees a Brainstorm here. That's fine. I've got 7
this one's got to resolve.
Hand. He does find a counter spell though, but again, there's just flyers and burn spells. And the way the Kuldotha deck wins.
Yeah. Would you have taken out some of the burn damage for those relics? You know your opponent's playing Mortuary Mire because you saw it game 1.
I would have brought in...
And Delve Threats.
I definitely would have brought in Relic of Progenitus in this matchup, 100%. I'm going to pass the table here. Nino sees the writing on the wall and another lightning bolt off the top counter spell there to deal with that one. But unfortunately, the damage in the air was going to be too much. And Thomas Barberi and his Jeskai Kuldotha deck marches on to 1-0 here on our Monday Night Pauper. We're going to bring it back to the booth as the players return their cards to their deck boxes, D-sideboard, and prepare for number 2. We have a grand total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 20 players here today, which is a good number, I do think. Definitely not bad for our Monday Night Pauper. Now, an interesting one there, we saw the control deck versus your value mid-range deck. The control deck got destroyed.
I think that's how that matchup is supposed to go.
Really?
Every time I've played... So I've played with both decks online.
Okay.
I've never won that matchup with the blue-black control player.
It does seem very challenging to win that game.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, I can see that one. Just the value of the Well Springs, you don't really want to counter them. But then they get picked up by like a Glint Hawk or a Core Skyfisher, and then they draw more cards afterwards again, and it's just the card advantage gets going, especially when you have access to Mold Drifter as well, should you so choose. And I think mid-range, it's the strangest mid-range deck I have ever seen in my life, but it's very interesting.
It's more
to
of a
watch.
combo deck.
Synergy-based deck, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Synergistic. It's a very good deck, though. Very
and it's a very
impressive.
fun deck to play.
I can imagine you have a lot of fun. Sometimes at your opponent's expense, but I can imagine you have a lot of fun with that. And I think it's a very good deck.
Blue-black deck needs to skimp on win conditions to hang with Boris.
I can see that. I think, yeah, he needed more interaction. Like, I think the choice of like some of the spells was interesting. Like, he'd gone for a very interesting version of blue-black. I think
with Mana Leak and Delver Secrets.
Delver, I think, fits maybe better into mono blue or blue red, where you get access to very cheap spells in terms of Lightning Bolt and all of the ilk, as well as having access to some counter spells as well, in terms of your Pyroblast and your Hydroblasts. And I think maybe that showed up a little bit in this one. Just not quite able to push through enough damage, or be able to keep enough on the table. Now, Gomag Angler is normally a very good threat, but against Kuldotha Boris, unless you can get it to land and stick, it's pretty rough, and just not quite enough removal spells there to keep up with the value being generated from the Kuldotha deck.
There was another one. It was a flyer that was...
Sultai Scavenger.
That one.
The Delve one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a 3/3 flyer.
And I like that in this matchup a lot.
A lot. It dies to a lot, but then it blocks everything in Kuldotha and can also attack every turn as well, which is one of the things that the Gomag Angler does sometimes struggle with against a deck that does make a lot of tokens.
Yeah. So... the Kuldotha deck just gets out of reach. It's got the tokens and the flying.
Yeah, it's a very difficult deck to interact with for a lot of the decks in the sort of the standard Pauper format. Like it normally can't hang with, say, your really fast aggressive decks.
Yeah, like elves or
because it has so many tap lands. But it can also sometimes it can, like it makes a 2/2 for 1, which is pretty good. And
or you go turn 1, here's my 3 chump blockers.
Exactly. And that's one of the
and then you've got Lone Missionary to gain you the life to try and push you into this late game that you need to get to.
Exactly, and it is that whole key of getting to the late game where your card advantage starts to take over. And Kuldotha is such a good late game deck, isn't it? It does hang with the control deck so well.
Yeah, it's a really fun deck. That's all I can say. I love everything it does. Okay,
so let's put this with you. Okay, we're going to put it on the other side. Blue-black control. So, what would be your choice of blue-black control? How we've seen the Delver version, which version would you play?
What, with how blue-black control?
Yeah, with any...
the different builds of blue-black control.
Because we could talk for ages about Kuldotha. It's got 2 versions. You've got Kuldotha Boris, Kuldotha Jeskai. You could also play, if you wanted to, say Presence of God version with some green in it. If you really wanted to, there are so many ways to play that deck because you have so many mana filtering abilities, and you're also able to play the Karoo bounce lands as well, which allows you could play with Presence of God and Midnight Guard if you so wanted to.
I'd definitely play a Mystical Teachings deck. I love the value and control that it gives you.
Yeah, I can see that definitely. I like that as well as the version I would choose to play. In fact, it's the one I'm building at the moment. I think Mystical Teachings is great fun as long as.
Yeah, but I wouldn't play Forbidden Alchemy because I'm not that greedy.
Both.
I'm
it's
not
all
that
about
greedy.
the greed. It's all about the greed. Former Gomag Angler is very easy to cast with that.
You just get stuck with all these like draw spells in hand, and how are you supposed to interact?
Okay, so which 1-mana draw spell do you play in that deck?
Brainstorm.
Really? Not Thought Scour?
No.
Really? Okay. Might need to pull my Brainstorms out my Legacy deck.
I play...
get them into that deck instead.
But I play Curse main deck.
I need... What? Really?
Yeah, I play 2 Curse main deck.
Ooh. Pretty brave.
I love it. Just control the game. That's what
true.
I want to do. That's why I play 4 Mystical Teachings, Counterspells, Removal, Lads, 2 of those.
Okay. What's your win condition? What's your creatures?
What creatures? What are creatures?
Bad person. bad, bad person. You win the game by milling your opponent out 2 cards at a time.
I also get to play my favourite land of all time.
What, an island?
No, Radiant Fountain.
Oh my goodness.
It gains life, and it's a land.
Why? Why would you do this to us? What is wrong with playing a fish? He's a massive fish. It's like the best card I've ever played with. It's so much fun. It's like make a fish and hit you for 5. There's nothing good about it. It's just great.
Because if I was playing fish, I'd play Thought Scour, and then I'd mill myself.
I've got that anyway. That's what I'm saying. You play the best one-drop cantrip in the game.
No, because
Thought
every
Scour.
time that I play Thought Scour, target myself, I mill my fishes, and then I'm like, no.
But then
Why?
you play a card that gets it back from the graveyard. Don't ask me what that card is. I know that's when you splash blue, you get Pulsar Marassa. So you splash green into your... You can play Sultai, and then you play Sultai Scavenger, and it's flavorful and not a flavor fail. You play the Gurmag Angler as well, because the fish is big. We could play a full-on 3-color deck, and you could just delve things away all day long.
Or you can play a control deck.
But it is!
But
it controls by not doing anything. Have you never played a deck where you have literally no win conditions, but you try to make your opponent think you do?
That's land to control, right?
No, but that actually has a win condition. It's lock your opponent out. No, I mean an actual deck that cannot win the game. It's just islands and cantrips. Have you never played a deck like that before?
No.
Oh, okay, sure. It's hilarious.
Actually, I have played islands, cantrips, counter spells.
What's your win condition?
Platinum Angel. But it never attacks.
That's like making a Platinum Imperium and never saying, can't lose the game now. Or
Exactly.
attack you. Just going to mill you out because you've got less cards than I do. It's not how you do things in Magic anymore. You have to win the game, unfortunately, now. Less combo storm spells to be able to cast. However, that does bring us to the end of round number 1 of coverage. Looks like the last table is just finishing up now, so the judge will be stealing our computer. We are going to take a very short break, and you can join myself and Will back after our little break, where we'll bring you some more Monday Night's Pauper action. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and from the state of this man's face, you can well aware what we're seeing. We have a 5-colour Tron mirror.
I hate Tron.
Oh, it was a beauty. We didn't even plan this one until we got to the table. I saw one player, oh, what are you playing today? Carly goes, I'm playing 5-colour Tron. It's the control version. Went to the other side of the table. What are you playing? Goes, I'm playing 5-colour Tron. I'm like, okay, sure. We've got no idea what's going to happen. At least it does mean that, however, when we do need to find the deck list, it'll be fairly easy. So I'm going to enjoy myself. This man's going to go lose the will to live. And
Lose
we're going to go
will to live.
Gonna go straight down to the feature match area. My punnies are good today. We're gonna go straight down to the feature match area for round number 2 of coverage here from Dark Sphere in London. Pauper players are gonna give the go-ahead, and we'll be on to the 5-colour Tron mirror. So let's quickly go to the joys of MTG Goldfish and find ourselves some 5-colour Tron. So we're going to see, now I think the people who has worked out, we're going to see double tower into a Coalition Relic? No, not Coalition. What am I on about?
That's a prismatic lens, isn't it?
Prismatic Lens, sorry, yeah. What am I on about? Coalition Relic. Prismatic Lens.
Basically,
However, we are going to see, looks like Power Plant and Mine and a Prophetic Prism here for Yashin. Going to pass the turn back. Looks like the ramp is in action. We see Muldrifter in hand here for the Tron player. We see 3 mana. We're going to see a Seagate Oracle. We're going to see a Muldrifter and a Pulse of Marassa. We're going to take the Muldrifter and pass the turn back to Yashin. It's going to be a fun one, this one is, boys. 4 Urza's Mine, 4 Urza's Power Plants, 4 Towers, a Thornwood Falls, 4 Swiftwater Cliffs, a Remote Isle, 2 Painted Bluffs, 2 Island and a Bajuka Bog.
see, I play fun magic. I play
This is
fair
fun
magic.
magic.
No.
What's that card then?
What, Shimmering Grotto?
All right, fine. You get it? I don't know what that card is off the top. We're going to see the Prismatic Lens. We're going to see, Prophetic Prism used to filter for black mana, and we'll see a Doomblade removing it from play. Looks like we've got a Mnemonic Wall. We have a Muldrifter, which we're going to evoke here. So we're going to draw 2, try and find another land drop. Looks like we found a pair of mines by the looks of it. So we're going to untap and draw Tron player. What do you find? Are we able to find Tron? So we can see a mana being tapped. We're going to see another mana being tapped, possibly filtering for this Muldrifter. So an evoked Muldrifter on both sides, drawing 2 cards each. Looks like we have another Shimmering Grotto, another Power Plant for Yashin. We're going to play that in untapped and pass the turn.
Oh, it makes me so happy that the Tron players don't find Tron.
Neither player has Tron.
That makes me so happy.
Oh yes, it's nice. We're going to see probably a Prophetic Prism here. So
It forces you to play fair magic.
yeah, it does. Either player finds a tower, so if Yashin finds a tower, or if Carl finds a power plant, we're going to make many, many mana in this game.
Mm.
Looks like a Muldrifter in hand here for Carl. I'd be very interested in starting that way. Your opponent's not doing an awful lot right now. Looks like we're going to instead evoke the Muldrifter. So we're going to draw 1 and draw 2. Looks like we found another mine and a Swiftwater Cliffs there for Carl. 1 mana. Oh, so he has actually found Tron. My apology. That is a power plant. So we have Tron online. Makes a lot more sense when it's played like that. I haven't seen that power plant before. So that's why I didn't recognise that we've got triple power plant on the other side for Yashin. So he's a very long way off of Tron at the moment. And he's starting to fall very far behind in the Tron mirror. Definitely better to be lucky than good when you draw your Tron much earlier than your opponent. See a pass back of the turn here. Carl pretty much in a good position. Yashin really struggling as we find another Shimmering Grotto instead of what hoping was for his Tron land. So we're going to filter for a Lightning Bolt to deal with the Muldrifter. Nice place to start.
You know what? This is fine. Neither player's doing anything too broken. There's no like Eldrazi
or Khans, or Khan Liberated, or Ugin, Spirit Dragon, or anything like that, or Ulamog.
I just hate decks like that. I hate 12 post Tron and anything that wants to go big mana very quickly. I don't even like Scape Shift for that reason.
Is there anything you do like?
Grindy control decks
or
and
Abzan decks,
or Rhinos.
Foily Abzan decks.
Foily Abzan deck, definitely.
Yes,
I've picked up some new foils for that.
Oh, very nice. It's always what you want to hear.
Some foil Tarmogoyfs.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Modern Masters, unfortunately, not Future Sight.
But they're the best ones, though.
What?
Which ones do you think?
But Future Sight are better. We've been over this.
No, they're not.
Anyways, we're playing with commons. We're not playing with these rares or...
We're playing with real cards.
Yeah. The only foil card we're seeing is that island at the top.
Yeah. As we're going to see another Mole Drifter into the battlefield here. He's just have a quick think and draw 2 cards via Mystical Teachings and a Ghostly Flicker. By the looks of it, we're going to see a
Which is also foil.
into the battlefield. It is foil. And we're going to maybe see the Mnemonic Wall here for Carl Naylor, trying to find out some more spells, possibly get back to Pulse Marassa. He's up to a very healthy 26 life total at the moment. Going to see it being tapped. Looks like we're going to go for the Mnemonic Wall. So Carl quickly checking the life totals at the moment. His hand is, I would describe as stacked.
Definitely.
Drawing Tron early definitely
And Moment's
helps.
Peace is there.
Didn't need to find that one. Put that one in the graveyard. Not doing a lot at the moment. We have a 2/2
I mean, it's got flashback.
It's pretty good. So would you like to type in Moment's Peace? We'll save that one, pull that up on the card viewer for those of you at home to see. It is the... Oh, no.
Does it have an apostrophe?
Well,
No?
looks like it does. If you can't find it, you can go search it. There we go, Moment's Peace, it does have an apostrophe. So, 1 and a green, prevent all combat damage that we dealt this turn. Flashback for 2 and a green. Do the same thing, prevent all combat damage that we dealt this turn. We see the Pulse Marassa being re-sleeved there by Carl. He's going to draw back for the turn. Mole Drifter finally appearing on the side of Yashin again. Pulse Marassa will do it, but that is... these are Tron decks, right?
Unfortunately.
They have 7 cards. They've got 7 cards each in hand. Like, what?
Well, Tron in Pauper just plays like a bunch of cards that draw spells, so...
And then makes a billion mana and Comet Storms them to death. Seems like good value. But we have the Mole Drifter off.
Value.
Can't really attack through each other. It looks like we have maybe a removal spell here on the side of Carl. Looks like maybe a Magma Spray.
Magma Spray's an interesting one. Is the Exile really relevant in this format compared to the... compared to just having
pretty good in the mirror.
Definitely good in the mirror.
pretty damn good in the mirror.
I mean, we're seeing more Mortuary Myers.
Oh, that is true.
But
and yes, Peri, they are both playing Tron Control, both 5-color Tron Control. And we're going to see another Pulse Marassa here, gain 6 more life, up to 32 here for Carl, and get back another Mole Drifter. Well, it's looking pretty good here for the Tron player. Which Tron player, nobody knows, but it's looking good for the
Carl.
Tron player. Yeah, for Tron player numero uno and numero duo. So we're going to see, it looks like a Shimmering Grotto there for Carl as well. Play Shimmering Grotto.
Now you know what that one does. Haha. It's basically Prismatic Lens on a land. So it taps for colorless, or you can pay 1 and tap it to make a mana. It filters your mana. Which, if you're playing a 5-color deck, you need.
Yeah, you really do. Plus, when you're making 3 mana with 1 land, it also doesn't hurt to be able to tap another one for another colour, as we see. An attack for 2 here from the Mole Drifter. Getting down to a healthy life total of 24.
He's on 32.
Yeah, looks like we have a Tron land off the top. Seems pretty good. See what it is. Looks like it is a mine, which would be good, because now he can go find the tower with his expedition map and start catching up again.
So who do you think's going to win this game? And don't you dare say Tron.
Tron player. Just like, don't do that. We're going to see a cracking of the map straight away. So he doesn't want to risk anything untoward happening. We're going to go find the tower. There's his tower. Not able to be played this turn, because he played the mine this turn. But just another way of starting to get here. We see Doomblade. Looks like another Tron. Looks like a couple of Tron pieces. Mystical Teachings. Some other cards. Still with the Mystical Teachings in hand. Able to filter for black at a moment's notice. So what do we want to play? Looks like we already have the Comet Storm in hand for Yashin. Not doing an awful lot right now, but definitely, possibly later on, it will be back into action. We're going to see a pass back to the turn. And it looks like a Comet Storm drawn on the side of Carl this turn. An attack for 4 here from the Muldrifters, able to start getting in the chip points of damage, maybe starts to get close to being able to Comet Storm out his opponent. We're going to see another power plant enter the battlefield here. So currently we have 2, 4, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wow. Ghostly Flicker is going to flicker a Muldrifter and flicker the Mnemonic Wall and get back the Ghostly Flicker. This is monstrous. We also have Electrickery in hand, which feels pretty bad in this matchup, but card advantage, never a bad thing. That you can discard it at the end step if you decide that you don't need it anymore. So Carl's going to look at his hand of infinite cards and feel pretty good about himself.
So much you can do.
I just think you discard some of the lands that don't do anything. You've got Mystical Teaching still in hand. You have so much mana available to you right now. And your opponent's only just about to make Tron.
Definitely. I think by this point you should just stop what your opponent's doing because you have these Muldrifters and you do have a clock.
Yep, so it looks like we're finally going to assemble Tron here for Yashin, able to play his tower out. Looks like he drew a Ghostly Flicker of his own. And what does he want to do? But obviously having Ghostly Flicker, basically infinite number of Ghostly Flickers.
Well, he has 13 mana this turn.
He also has infinite Ghostly Flickers.
So he's got the Fog Lock.
The Fog Lock. Not the Fog Frog, the Fog Lock.
Fog Lock.
We're going to see Mnemonic Wall here. Do you stream other games at locals? So we stream... Monday we stream Pauper, which is myself and whoever wants to come and join me on a Monday night. Tuesday we have our colleagues from the Legacy division give coverage of 4 rounds of Legacy on a Tuesday, and then I will return on Wednesday with Chris Wingrave to carry out our Modern coverage, and that's what we do at the moment. There is maybe an opportunity of doing more at a later date. That will be down to the boss to decide, but at the moment we
should
stream...
start doing Standard.
If people turned up. It's pretty bad. It's not the greatest turnout. Friday Night Magic is the best place for Standard. But again, it's modern. Like, people love Modern. People love these formats that aren't your standard formats. People love Pauper. People love Legacy. People love
People
Modern.
love the eternal formats at which your cards don't rotate.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Because you can know at any point, I could leave the game for a bit, come back, and you can still play your deck.
Sorry, Rolling Thunder, not Comet Storm. Thank you very much. Yes, Rolling Thunder, not Comet Storm. Yep. Very different cards. One I believe is uncommon. The other one, Rolling Thunder, definitely common, as we see. But yes, 5-color Flickertron is probably what we should call it. But we do stream others, so again, Modern. So Monday night is Pauper, Tuesday night is Legacy, Wednesday night is Modern. So for any of you who want to join us along, I will be here most Mondays and Wednesdays. I believe Chris here on Wednesday, and then next week is still to be decided. TBC. But we shall enjoy that anyway. Pauper, definitely the best of the formats at the moment. Do love Pauper. It's really good. It's so good, this format.
It is incredibly fun. There's so many different things that you could do, and it's really diverse.
So we're going to see a Ghostly Flicker number 2 here for Carl. See if Yashin wants to do anything in response. Maybe he wants to pick up a Lightning Bolt. Maybe he could flicker his own Mnemonic Wall, get a Lightning Bolt. See many cards being drawn here. Just needs to find his Tron pieces. Try and assemble as much damage as possible. And yes, thank you very much, KKUK, for the comment. We definitely do try. Alexei does some wonderful work with the programming of the software that we use, and it's really good for us as well as you watching at home, because it means that we can clearly see what the players are doing as well. Because I'll tell you what, trying to watch from a distance, it's pretty difficult if the camera's pretty rubbish, but the cameras here are very, very good. So thank you very much for that comment. It does mean a lot. Definitely means that we will continue to do all of the work that we do at the moment. So we're going to see another Prophetic Prism here for Carl. Draw at the turn into what looks like a blue card.
A blue card.
Looks like maybe an Impulse, but I don't think it is because I'm not sure what. I'm not sure that's legal. Let's have a quick look. It looked like the artwork from Impulse, but we shall soon find out.
What with the person holding the hand open?
It's a common. Could be Impulse.
That's look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom of your library in any order.
It's pretty good for 2 mana.
Yeah.
Really good. So
strictly better anticipate.
So we see Ghostly Flicker. Well, we're just flickering for value now, if there is anything. So players looking at their hands, loads and loads of options here for Carl. definitely assembling Tron very early on, definitely the biggest advantage that he could have achieved. Thank you to Larian Community College for raiding with a party of 168 people. I've never been raided before on Twitch. It's a very
I
interesting...
have, not with that amount of people. That's a lot of people.
But for those who have just joined us, my name is John Partridge. I'm joined today by William Leach, and we are bringing you a live coverage of our Monday night Pauper here from Darksphere in London, the United Kingdom, for those of you who may not be from our little island of the world. We're bringing you Monday Night Pauper. We're into round number 2. We have the 5-colour Tron mirror, controlled Tron mirror actually, and Carl able to ascend Tron a lot earlier. Now he's just flickering the value to find the removal spells to deal with his opponent's creatures, gently dealing some damage, 2 points at a time, before finishing off with a Rolling Thunder to finish the game. Plenty of lands, plenty of Tron available, as we see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 mana currently in play for Carl, off of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lands. Pretty good amount.
And only 13.
Only 13 on the other side, and Carl has a very healthy 32 life here and able to get back his Pulse of Marasas when he does so wish, but he has at the moment a lot of cards in hand to look at. Looks like we're going to find...
Oh, Capsize. I love that card.
So... Right, well,
it's a 3-mana bounce spell, the return target permanent to its owner's hand, and it's got buyback for 3 mana. So in the Tron mirror, it's a really good card because you can start bouncing their lands and just lock them out of the game.
Ah, yeah, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Capsize, as we've seen on we got the lovely little card viewer to our right, which doesn't bring up the invocation versions or the masterpieces, depending on which set we're looking at. But is
sorry about that.
Return target permanent to its owner's hand, and it is permanent, which makes a big difference, obviously. Yeah. And as you say, your Tron mirror, how do you lock your opponent out of the game? No lands, no Tron pieces. Especially when you can only play 1 land a turn, and especially if you can get ahead with that. But Pulse of Marasa has done a lot of work so far for Carl, and to Yasin as well, who has finally managed to enable some number of his Tron piece. He finally found the tower. It took a long time, but he was able to get there eventually. So players are going to keep a look at their hand, decide how they want to pursue forward with their turns. So looks like we're going to discard already. Yashin managed to find enough cards. He's going to... Oh, no. Before you discard, I have some effects. I have Mystical Teachings and more copies of Ghostly Flicker.
I always forget that if you let your opponent go to clean up, that it's after the end phase. It was Magic Online that taught me this.
Yes, clean up and end step are very different phases.
Yeah.
You can, if your opponent says, I'd like to go to a discard. No. I would like to do something in your end step first. It is a valid phase of the turn. As you see Ghostly Flicker, flickering the Mnemonic Wall and the Muldrift. Drawing more cards here for Carl, and basically rotating through his deck to find the lands he needs, mainly Urza's Towers, but also enabling him to continue to have the options of using the Ghostly Flicker and getting it back with the Mnemonic Wall. So able to cast
this
each
engine.
Turn. Yeah, the engine, the value engine is definitely online here for Carl and his Tron deck. And Yashin, unfortunately, was not quite able to keep up in the early game, but definitely moving forward. See, it's just the fact he never found a tower early enough. And he drew 3 power plants to start with.
Yeah,
and that's
it's
what really
unfortunate.
Yeah. If we have to see Mystical Teachings, we're going to see what we can see from the other side of the table.
So what would it take for Yashin to get back into this game?
Luck. His opponent milling himself. But that's where we're at right now. Unless you can actually get the Capsize engine online.
He's not got enough blue sources.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's not got enough blue sources. I think Capsize is very good for this one. We're going to see
he discards it.
Capsize being discarded, not quite at the stage
I actually agree with this play. It's a double blue spell.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you doing with it? It's your opponent has so much mana in play. He's got double tower. He has multiple pieces of each other Tron piece. You're just never going to take him off of it fast enough. And that's one of the issues with Carl just finding his Tron pieces so much earlier. As we see another Prismatic Lens enter the battlefield here for Carl. Definitely trying to sort his mana out so he can get to that Rolling Thunder as soon as possible. We see a Lightning Axe, the card as well. And another Prophetic Prism. Draw more cards. Definitely would start to think about how many cards Carl has left in his deck, but at the moment the Muldrifter Beatdown is certainly doing some work. And even though Yashin has access to that Pulse of Marasa, not quite able to push far enough ahead with it, And he definitely feels that Carl just needs to find out a way of closing out the game. And he should be able to take down game number 1 here in round number 2.
If my calculations are correct, Carl has 33 cards left in deck.
That pretty. I'll tell you what, fair play if he does. Is going to discard lightning. Sorry.
My calculations were incorrect because I didn't factor in the fact that he had more cards in hand than 7. So he actually has 32 cards in deck.
He's going to discard lightning axe to the graveyard.
What's this? A Yu-Gi-Oh player counting cards?
Don't even start.
Oh wait.
Don't even start. Shh. Be quiet, Yu-Gi-Oh! Will. Be quiet, Yu-Gi-Oh! Will. Come back, Magic Will. Come back. Come back to us all as we're going to see some mana being tapped here by Yashin. What does he want to do in his end step? He does still need to actually, Carl's in his position where he, obviously we see Mnemonic Wall here, but he does still need to win the game.
Yeah, do you just not care and get your fog lock on if you're Yashin?
I just want to win the game if I'm Carl. Okay, so here's the thing is, Yashin's in this unfortunate problem where he's probably too far behind to catch up and hasn't found another tower. So there's 2 options. Either you put yourself in a position where you encourage Carl to kill you because you don't do anything, or you concede the game and try and win game 2, or but the thing, I don't see how he comes back from Carl's board state. He has Ghostly Flicker every single turn, so he's able to assemble. Okay, so we can flicker. We're going to flicker this prismatic, the prophetic prism, because only it draws 1 card rather than 2, and we're going to see it return back to the hand.
It also means you can filter your mana much easier in Yashin's turn if you want to stop what he's doing.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things as well, is that yes, he's one of them. We should see it done again, and this is getting quite scary now. Is that he could mill himself out? It's very unlikely. His opponent is at 12. And this isn't his end step, so what Carl's doing is obviously putting enough cards together to try and find another tower and probably just end the game next turn.
Just find the Rolling Thunder.
He already has that, but what he could be looking for is a counter spell, because he may just be worried about his opponent saying, well, I'll just counter it. We can see Impulse here.
Would you really be worried about the counter spell? Because you have the Mnemonic Wall just to go, bring it back to my hand, play it again, and force you to just keep having that counter spell. He can't have more than 4.
That's true.
Just say in 5 turns.
I'll tell you what. You know what you said earlier about what deck really enjoys gold fishing?
Yeah.
Tron decks. Maybe he's just having some fun. Maybe he's enjoying the deck, getting used to it. Maybe it's not one of his preferred decks. We're going to see Carl moving ahead with certainly at least a hand of 9 cards. We're going to untap here and draw for the turn. Can Carl push himself over the finish line in game number? We'll see another tower here. I think that might seal up the game. I think we might see the attack here for 4. Put Yashin down to 8. Looks like we have a play here. Looks like we're going to tap 5 mana. We're going to... Interesting. So we're going to flash back our Moment's Peace.
Can you bring that up? I can't remember if
certainly
it's
can.
Combat damage or damage.
Maybe that's what
apostrophe.
Yeah, it does have an apostrophe, correct. We did spell that wrong last time. So let's save that, put it into the viewer. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. Now,
so he could, you're dead, Rolling Thunder.
Yes, you now assemble the Rolling Thunder lock.
Yeah. He has
place.
3 and a blue. Yashin has 3 and a blue to stop this. So if he has Condescend, you can easily pay for it.
Yep. And you only need to deal 12 points of damage.
Yep.
So you just have 14 mana. Which seems like a minimal amount for the
looks like Rolling Thunder being
we're already tapping for 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yep.
Yep,
there we go.
Thunder. Now, the only issue with this is if there's Pulsar Marassa. But then you have the Mnemonic Wall lock as well.
Yeah. Just bring it back next turn. And
exactly. And your opponent can moment. And I think you do try and string the game out, where you say, I would actually like to attempt to use this Pulsar Marassa. It may either get countered or just removed. We'll soon have
this information of what Carl is playing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right, is Carl has so many cards and is so far ahead that he's going to show him a game number 1. He actually giving a handshake. I think it was a good game. It was a challenging one. But Carl was just so far ahead on resources, and he assembled up the Mnemonic Wall so quickly with Ghostly Flicker. It never felt like Yashin was able to get back into that game, and he was always on the back foot for so long. And that probably was the biggest issue in that game, is Carl was in the ascendant all the time.
Yeah, Cole assembled what he wanted to do quicker than what Yashin did. Because you want to assemble your lands to have all the amount of mana that you want to play your spells, but you need to, and Yashin did that, and then was constrained on the fact that he didn't have coloured mana. You need these mana rocks with Prophetic Prism and your Prismatic Lens.
And he was able to find a couple of Shimmering Grottos, but not able to find those. He only found one Prophetic Prism in that game, and Carl was able to find 3 of them, plus also the Prismatic Lens.
The spells that won him the game as well.
Yeah, and just finding the Ghostly Flicker so early on, able to use a Muldrifter and the Mnemonic Wall, meant that he had Ghostly Flicker every turn, and was also drawing 2 cards a turn early on, which is far more than sort of the 1 or 2, maybe maximum 2 cards a turn that Yashin was drawing. On average, Yashin drew 1 card that turn, maybe 1.4. He had a couple of Muldrifters, but Carl just basically just filtered through his entire deck to find the pieces he wanted, because he was able to set up Tron so early. So moving on to the sideboards, what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look, sort of things that we could be bringing in this matchup. You have Hydroblast, Pyroblast. You're a multicolour deck, very easy to play those cards. Ancient Grudge. Now that seems like a very interesting card.
I'd bring that in.
100%. We have Echoing Truth, Moment's Peace, Decrypt Incursion, Tranquility, Coalition Honor Guard, Serrated Arrows, Stonehorn Infantry. You also have things like we saw with the cards that you have Diabolic Edict as well in your sideboard. Because you're in 5 colours, you can effectively play pretty much anything you want. And I think that's one of the things to bear in mind is we can go through any sideboard here and we might get maybe half the cards right, if we're lucky, but because there are so many pieces of tech in the sideboard you can use, like we see Gorilla Shaman, Protection, Circular Protection Red, you see Ulmog's Crusher, you see the different colours of protection, you see Dispels, you select Trickeries, which is something that we're seeing a lot of in the red decks, because one of the things that you find in this field here at Darkster in London is there are quite a few aggressive decks.
Yeah,
a lot of people like their burn decks, a lot of people like their elf decks, a lot of people like their sort of, as we saw, Kuldotha deck, which Electrickery is fine against most of those decks. Like, it's great against elves, it's fine against Kuldotha because it kills all the tokens, and as a main deck, I'm thinking this more main deck.
Yeah.
A sideboard, obviously you bring it against elves, you're going to bring more copy, but as we saw with Carl, he actually has a main deck copy of Electrickery, as we saw in his hand at one point.
Which you immediately take out. You
get to discard that card and get effectively a free a free look at a sideboard card, because that card is pretty atrocious in this matchup. So we can see the Hydroblast, the Pyroblast, the circles of protection there from Yashin. And actually, interesting enough, I don't mind the Circle of Protection Red, because it does turn off all the burn spells.
And it stops your opponent being able to Rolling Thunder your face for game.
Yes. And also, unless you have Capsize, it's actually a very difficult card to get rid of. Yeah. Enchantments are a lot more difficult to get rid of than artifacts. Obviously, Ancient Grudge only does artifacts, which is obviously one of the things that can be a challenge to deal with. Earth Rift. Destroy target land.
With flashback.
Could be fine. Could be good. Again, we've seen these effects.
We don't know.
We've seen these effects in different formats where you have destroy land effects, and sometimes they're really good. And against the Tron decks, that is where they are good, is when you can destroy a land early on and take them off of Tron and slow the deck down, because if they don't have Tron, it's a pretty mediocre 5-colour deck. It can't play its big spells with that much value, because it's going to be paying full mana for them rather than effectively reducing the cost by having a land that taps for multiple mana on the other side of the table. So players are going to shuffle up. Carl's already presented, having a quick chat. Presumably, probably not about the weather or the time of day, because it's very, very cold outside.
Freezing.
It's very cold outside.
I believe it is actually minus.
Well, I'll let you work that one out.
It is 1 degree.
1 degree.
1. A single 1 degree is what we've got to work with.
So players are going to look at their opening 7s here. Looks like we have a Flame Slash, a couple of lands, Prophetic Prism, looks like a couple of Tron pieces. Pretty good start here for Carl's opening hand. And on the other side of the table, looks like we have the Circle of Protection Red has come in. Looks like a couple of Prophetic Prisms, looks like a couple of Tron pieces, and some maps as well, which is a pretty good hand if you're in the side of Yashin. Means you can assemble the turn 3 Tron. It'll be pretty nice with this Prophetic Prism on the table. So Swiftwater Cliffs coming into play. Carl up to 21. Draw the turn here. Don't see exactly what it looks like. Shimmering Grotto, but I think we make the second Tron piece. Find Tron for turn 3, and start making a huge amount of mana as early as possible. We're going to see the mine, so we're going to be looking for a power plant here. And Carl's probably looking across at the table and going, am I playing Modern or am I playing Pauper today? Because this is a pretty standard Modern start for the Modern Tron decks. Draw for the turn, find a Ghostly Flicker. We're going to see the first Tron piece into a Prophetic Prism for Carl. In response, yeah, we'll sacrifice our copy of... See our copy of Expedition Map being cracked here for the Power Plant Tron online. As I was just saying, if you're in Carl's seat, you just saw that start. It's like, I'm playing Modern. I'm not playing Modern. Why is this happening to me? Definitely a pretty strong turn. 1 and 2 here for Yashin. He's going to take the Power Plant to hand and draw for the turn and see how far he can get with the... He does get to draw. Yep, going to draw for the turn. Find a Pulsar Marasa there for Yashin. We're going to see the Power Plant probably tap to make a Prophetic Prism to start. Able to start filtering our mana. Maybe even find... maybe even use the map as well. Able to play the Circle Protection Red. Pretty good place to be. So we're going to draw for the turn, see a Swiftwater Cliffs of Yashin's own with the second copy of Prophetic Prism. Looks like he has a Hydroblast in hand, I believe the blue card is. Although I'm not particularly sure from just looking at it. We're going to see 3 mana being tapped and Circle Protection Red enters the battlefield. Which we were just talking about. It's a pretty good card. I like it coming in. I think it's good because it does allow him to then turn off the Rolling Thunder kill. And also turn off all of the lightning bolts and everything else. And Atlas Eclipse is new here. So hello. Well, thank you very much, Atlas Eclipse. Welcome to the stream here from Darkshire in London. John Partridge, William Leach alongside me as we take you through 4 rounds of Monday Night Pauper. The 5-colour Tron Mirror, something I didn't expect to be commentating on so early into the Pauper time. My journey into the wonderful format that is Pauper.
I believe that's Counterspell.
It would be very interesting artwork on it.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
If anyone in the chat can help with what the blue land is,
blue card.
With the blue card
spell.
or the blue land. The blue spell. Blue spell, that's what I meant.
At the front of Yashin's hand.
Yeah, the Tron Mirror. For those of you who not so enjoy the Tron in Pauper, I do apologise. We see a Bajuka Bog here for Yashin. Interesting choice of lands to get. His opponent graveyard doesn't actually have anything, but the double Prophetic Prism will do some work helping move forward. We see a random pair of feet entering the camera at our bottom right.
So he lost to the lock in game 1. You might just hedge to be like, I don't want you creating this engine this game.
Yep.
We're both... It is a control mirror. Eventually I'm going to draw into what I need to.
Yep, looks like we found another Flame Slash off the top here for Carl. Working with the double power plant, looks like a Prismatic Lens. Here we go. Oh, Iconic Masters Condescend.
Okay.
Interesting art that I'd never actually seen before. So thank you very much for Eddie Carrium in chat and for Donald K Magic as well. Very interesting, actually. I've never seen that artwork before. So what we'll do is, well, you can try and spell it. It's You've got a better chance of doing it than I have.
It's X and a blue, counter-target spell unless its controller pays X and you scry 2.
And the scry is pretty good, actually, especially when you're making as much mana as the Tron deck was, especially as far ahead. So we're going to see, I believe it... Oh, no.
Yep, just
Carl's like, yep, you have a counterspell. Let us go to game 3. So we actually have time to play game 3. And because Circle Protection, also another way of starting to lock out the game. So we saw a couple of sideboard cards there. Well, we saw one sideboard card.
If you're Cole, would you change how your sideboarded based on the fact that you saw this?
What are your win conditions? If they take out your rolling thunder. The question is, does he have any enchantment removal? Will be number 1.
And then, can you be over? Are your creatures good enough to win the game?
Which we saw in game 1. Like most of the damage was done by the Mole Drifters, but you're playing a very similar deck, and like something like maybe if you did have access to, say,
Ulamog's Crusher.
Ulamog's Crusher was pretty good, and at the same time, if you really wanted to, you could also bring Gorilla Shaman. Destroy target non-creature artifact with casting cost equals to X. That's probably fine. Because again, it's just dealing with the issues that do exist in the matchup.
I can't spell gorilla.
That's always good to know. It's not spelled G-E-U. That's a very different type of gorilla.
Yeah.
So Gorilla Shaman, a red mana 1/1, XX1, destroy target non-creature artifact with casting cost equal to X. Which is probably, like, again, you're making a huge amount of mana, and as we saw in Game 1, a lot of the mana generation and a lot of the value was made by the Prophetic Prisms, so this might be a good option if you're on the side of the table. But looks like plenty of lands here for Yashin. Maybe, in fact, maybe a natural turn 3 Tron, which would be pretty brutal, Carl, having taken a mulligan down to 6. We're going to start with an island and pass the turn back, a very shiny foil island, in fact. Draw for the turn, looks like another Shimmering Grotto, so plenty of lands here for Yashin at the moment. Looks like we're going to start on the tower, so we have natural turn 3 Tron in Pauper.
Natural turn 3 Tron is fine in Pauper if they don't have Prophetic Prism or Prismatic Lens in order to, which unfortunately he does.
Because they always have it. So you see Prophetic Prism here for Yashin. He's going to draw, and he finds, looks like another Tron piece, and a pass back of the turn. Yes, correct. Thank you very much. We do need to change that very quickly. Players are, in fact, at 1 and 1. The boss poking us from afar, from the warm comforts of his home, I imagine, keeping us true and honest while we freeze to death at the back of the store. So you see a Seagate Oracle here for Carl, trying to obviously taking one card with him. Looks like he's got a Prophetic Lens, Hydroblast. Oh well, it actually looks like he has a Pyroblast. He has a Pulse Marasa, what looks like another land, and then also a copy of Prophetic Prism and what's like Lightning Axe as well. So we're going to see lots of cards in hand, including a Mystical Teachings.
I love that card.
That is so many cards. I'm sorry, so many lands. We see the first Tron piece here for Carl. The draw for the turn. We're going to see an attack for 1 here from Yashin, going down to 19. And we're going to see 2 mana being tapped for the Prophetic Prism. And it's actually interesting how good sort of the Seagate Oracles are in this deck, just being able to filter your draw early on, able to get you to the spells that matter, maybe get rid of something that isn't a problem, or find you more lands.
I think Yashin is countering this, which I really like. If you think your opponent doesn't have the Tron lands, don't let them draw into it.
Yep. So we're going to see the Pyroblast dealing with the Condescend there from Yashin and drawing into the Thorn Waterfalls. And just trying to hit more land drops. We see the first of the Tron lands here for Carl. Now, what land do you play? Do you lead with the? Well, he's going to lead with the Thornwood Falls, making the most efficient use of his turn. He's already behind the 8-ball here, where 3 Tron lands already in play. But it depends. Does Yashin have anything to do with those lands? Players going to quickly adjust the life total. Carl at 22, Yashin down to 19.
I'm not sure I agree with the Thornwood Falls as the play. You have an island in hand, and you have Prophetic Prism in order to filter your mana, so colour isn't a problem. You're being punished for not having Tron at this stage, and you want to be able to play your Tron lands and get Tron online as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So I would probably have just played the Tron land rather than the Thornwood Falls.
Yes. So we see a...
Unless you're missing something.
No, that's true. So we're going to see a Expedition map here cracked by Yashin, and we see the first of his Tron pieces into play here. Unfortunately, not a lot to do with them. There's no real creatures. He does have a Pulse Marasa, but I'm not really sure you're wanting to go after your copy of I'm sure you're not really wanting to go after. In fact, as soon as he sees the Bajuka, he's like, no, I'm going to get back my Seagate Oracle, not having you exile that one and leave this card pretty much dead. But again, you can respond to it. It is a trigger that goes on the stack. You could respond at instant speed, wanting to make the most use of his mana. So we're going to have that in our hand. A couple of lands to ditch to the Lightning Axe, should it be required.
Even though it's a trigger that goes on at instant speed, Yashin then has the mana untapped that he could just go Condescend if he really wants to punish Carl.
Yep. Which should be interesting. So we do see a lot of lands here, however. So Yashin had a great start, but he's just drawn lands. He does have Mystical Teachings, which is a really good card.
It's a really good card in this deck as well. It's what they need in order to draw into... Well, I say draw into. You could just find this draw spell, play this draw spell.
Yep.
Find this Mystical Teachings, play this Mystical Teachings, find this draw spell.
Teachings for teachings. One of the best things you can do is we're going to see a Seagate Oracle here with a tower into play here, but obviously both players running a little bit on empty, but we're going to see 2 cards being looked at. We see Pulse Marasa and what looks like a Prismatic Lens possibly there as well for Carl. I'd be much more interested by the Pulse Marasa.
Yep, just take the spell that actually affects things.
Yep. You have a lot of colours already of mana. Looks like I'm not sure exactly which one he took. We'll soon find out when it looks at his hand. Looks like he took the...
Oh, come on.
He's actually hidden it perfectly from the camera, not allowing us to see what card was taken with it. We're going to see Mystical Teaching in the end step. Looks like he took the Pulse Marasa, in fact. We saw a little bit of flicker of green at the back of his hand. We're going to go quickly search for... Yeah, Pulse Marasa was the card. So what are we going to find for you then, Yashi? What sort of things would you want to look for at the moment from your deck?
Mystical Teachings.
Oh, we're gonna get Pyroblast.
Sure. That's countering blue spells. If you want to stop, as we mentioned, you want to stop the draw spells because you want to stop Carl finding Tron.
Yes. Things like Moldrifter, things like Mnemonic Wall, because it can just get value incrementally. Obviously, it's very good for you, but it looks like he's found a Moldrifter of his own here. I believe there is a Pyroblast in the other side of the table at the moment, but obviously, when you're playing Tron, you don't really have to tap a lot of mana. We're going to tap 5 here, and we're going to make a Moldrifter, and it's going to run straight into the Pyroblast, able to be dealt with for 1 mana.
And when you play cards with non-matching artworks, you make Will a sad man.
It's the best part.
No.
No. Tilting the commentary team with your mismatched black and white border Tron lands, pretty good. He obviously knew that he was coming on camera.
He was already tilting me by playing Tron.
So we're going to see an attack for 1 here from Carl. He's trying to go the way, but he only has a few cards left in hand. Looks like a Lightning Axe as well, alongside a copy of Pulse Marasa is all he has left. So, Yashin, can you find a good card? Maybe you can flash back the Mystical Teachings in next turn. Draw for the turn. We find
a spell.
Wow, that was really insightful of you. I love how insightful that was. I couldn't have thought of that one myself.
But it's not a land.
It's not correct. It is not a land. However, what it is a... I believe it is a prohibit. She'll put it up on the screen, see if I am correct. It looks like it is. Looks like the artwork for prohibit.
Oh.
That's no... Oh, man. No. Capital Y. Our player, Will having a little bit of a tough time here. His name is not prohibit. We're going to put prohibit into the correct part of our system to pull it up on the screen for the viewers at home.
I broke it.
You did not. You did break it. So we're going to untap Pyroblast, dealing with the Ghostly Flicker. Pretty good use of it there. So prohibit, 1 and a blue, kick a 2, counter target spell if its converted mana cost is 2 or less, or if it was kicked for 4 mana, you may counter if its converted mana cost 4 or less. We're going to see a fair amount of mana being cast. We're going to flash back the what's it called, this card? The one that you don't use a lot of?
Forbidden Alchemy.
Forbidden Alchemy. Quite a lot of mana to be cast back on the other side, but now Carl also has Tron. It's not so bad if we're going to see another prohibit to deal with that one. So we're going to pass the turn back. Both players have Tron. Obviously, Yashin has a lot more Tron, but he's 18 life versus 29. So Carl's at a pretty healthy life total. Looks like we find a Ghostly Flicker, the draw for the turn. Still having the second copy of... the flashback ability of Mystical Teachings. It's still a really good position to be in if you're in Yashin's seat.
Especially seeing as that Ghostly Flicker in hand, it's just dead.
Which it is at the moment, until he is able to find something to do with it.
What was that?
That was quite scary. Not quite sure what that was. I think we're being trolled.
Oh.
So we're going to see a Nile Spell Bomb here for...
Because sometimes you get those weird, like it's kind of scary. Because in a weird way, if you're reading it, you're not familiar. And at the same time,
So we see Nile Spell Bomb. Looks like we found... it looks like an Ancient Grudge. No, sorry, a Flame Slash. And we're going to get rid of the... Seagate Oracle, obviously now putting the Pulse Marasa to some use, and we're going to cast a Bajuka Bog. Does come into play tapped. We will obviously go and pick that up before it goes in. Yep, Carl picked that one very quickly. Does come into play tapped. And let's see what else there is to do. There's about 4 minutes left on the round for the main room. We have maybe a minute or so extra on the feature match area. They started a little bit after. I imagine very quickly running into round number 3, which will be very good news for us here. We do love some Pauper action, keeping it up and alive. So we can see an island being tapped. He's trying to decide what he wants to do. He has a pretty... It's not a great hand at the moment, but I can imagine using this Nile Spell Bomb to just... In fact, he's going to do it in response. So he's, interesting enough, not going to flash back his Faithless Losing, his Mystical Teachings. Interesting from Yashin not choosing to do that with all his mana available to him. Maybe worried about it getting countered on the flip side. We're going to see a null spell bomb here.
Would you just flashback the teachings in response, or do you think he forgot about it? Because it's underneath all these cards.
Imagine he's forgotten about it. And we're going to see a Muldrifter here, and Carl's starting to draw his way back into this. Maybe a slight misstep there from Yashin. We're going to see 2 cards being drawn. That resolves very quickly, and we're going to see what looks like a Mystical Teachings of his own and a Ghostly Flicker. Pretty good position to be in with a Flame Slash that is at sorcery speed. So Ghostly Flicker targeting my Prophetic Prism and my Muldrifter. Draw 3 cards. There's a Capsize, a Prohibit, and another Prophetic Prism, as we're going to see Yashin play just another land for the turn. Plenty of mana, but not a lot to do with it, unfortunately, this turn. Flame Slash not quite able to do what he wanted it to. Muldrifter still in play. Carl had a healthy 29 life, but even if it had died, he still has a Pulse Marauder available to him to get rid of it. But plenty of cards in hand now. See 4 mana filtering from there. And Ruga, hello, welcome to the stream, John Partridge. Will Leach here, taking you through some Monday Night Pauper for your cold evening here in the United Kingdom from London. Look, playing some very enjoyable Pauper. We're into round number 2 of coverage here. We have the 5-colour Tron Mirror. With a couple of minutes left on the round, looks like one player is going to have to try and win. Could be a little bit challenging. -1 degrees at the moment.
-1. It's
glad
now
we're indoors.
It's now freezing temperature. It's literally freezing temperature.
That's the best part. But hello and welcome to the stream. Very good to have you along for the journey. We see 5 mana being tapped here, and we see a Mnemonic Wall. Now we're going to start. Now we are going to start the very enjoyable game of.
It's game 1 all over again.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the Flicker effect targeting the Prophetic Prism and the Bajuka Bog. Oh, I like that play very much indeed. No, so this is still on the stack.
2-0. What table were you on?
And we're going to prohibit it. So won't resolve, and Yashin is out of cards in hand, and Carl is definitely starting to pull ahead now. So go to the Flicker back to hand, and now we have set up the lock again, and with basically a billion cards in hand.
This
if I'm
feels
truly
great.
honest. 7 versus 0, and unfortunately Yashin may have misstepped there by missing that he had the Mystical Teaching in his graveyard. It's hard to play a 5-color deck if you're new and don't have a mana base. Yes, that is very true.
It's just hard to play a 5-color deck anyway. The constraints on mana is huge. You see a Ghostly Flicker again on the Mnemonic Wall, and Muldrifter. I love this engine. This engine draws cards, brings back your spells.
So we are nearly at time in the round. We have about 40 seconds left on the main area. Our illustrious Judge Danny on the floor, keeping an eye on the proceedings today. The feature match will have a minute or so extra as we started them a little bit after to get the coverage in for the players. So we're going to see an untap here. Can Yashin find any sort of relevant spell? Looks like, oh, no, another land. And he's going to extend his hand to Carl, and he's going to show him the Rolling Thunder, which would have been lethal next turn. Plenty of lands in hand after the attack for 2. Carl taking down 5-color Tron Mirror. 2 games to 1 off the back of some, I would say, maybe a couple of misplays from Yashin, but generally not flooding on lands, as Yashin drew plenty of lands. That what we're going to do, so we're going to bring it back to the booth. Here was a bit of a loud noise there. scared poor Will. John Partridge, Will Leach, taking you through our Monday Night Pauper here from Darksphere in London. A very interesting match there, actually. Something we didn't quite expect to see. 5-color Tron. That's the second time I've got to commentate it. The first time it got run over would probably be the best way to describe it. But
well, it got run over this game.
In the way we didn't expect it, especially with turn 3 natural Tron from Yashin not quite able to pull out the advantage. And it was a very interesting matchup to watch. Not something I expected. It was definitely a lot different. It was definitely a lot nickel and dime, get the advantage, and then you just took over the game. There wasn't like that, oh, I turned the corner and I just like crushed you under the power of my deck.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. There wasn't as much of a back and forth as I would have hoped. But that's
no, that's true.
Mostly due to the variance that you see within Magic.
Yeah, and as we saw, Carl able to find a Muldrifter and Mnemonic Wall set up the lock in game 1. Not really do anything in game 2, but he drew like basic, effectively non-Tron lands, and just wasn't able to do anything. Had his Muldrifter countered and pretty much conceded the game at that point, knowing that he had to actually win game 3 which he did. He was very far behind in the first few turns, but a few very fortunate draws with some Tron pieces pulling him back into that one, and I think that's the lesson to learn. Do not concede until you are dead, but if you are dead, concede. In game 2, he was pretty dead.
Yeah, he was definitely dead.
When your Mold Drifter gets countered like that and your opponent has Tron, I'm fairly sure it's the time to go, yeah, sure, we'll...
yeah, in the interest of time especially.
We'll go to game 3, and he, as I say...
Well, we'd be in turns right now if he didn't.
Yeah, game 1 was very long. Carl took a very long time to close that game out. Not quite sure why, but it did take him a very long time. But we are being informed that the judge would like to enter the results into the computer, so we will take a couple of minutes break, and we will soon be back with round number 3 of coverage of Pauper here from Darksphere in London. We will hopefully you will join us, and we'll be back in
not a Tron mirror.
Tail. Hopefully not a Tron mirror, but I don't mind them. Be one of those things. We'll see you very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. A very short break as promised. John Partridge, William Leach here to bring you round number 3 of coverage from Darksphere in London. We have two very different decks to the nonsense we just saw. Will, a much more happy man this game round. He is going to be Sliver Man and I'll be Sacrifice Man, as we have a green-black Carrion Feeder Sacrifice versus the green-white Slivers. You can send it down to the feature match area. The players are ready and round number 3 of coverage is on its way. Danny.
Unfortunately, I feel it's a bad matchup for Slivers.
Okay, in what way?
Well,
Why do you feel it's a bad matchup for Slivers then?
they can't really interact well with the engine.
Okay, so let's just take a step back. What is the engine that you're on about?
First of all, recycling Fog Frog.
Oh, the glorious Fog Frog.
Bringing back the Fog Frog. So Spore Frog, if you missed it last time, is a 1 green. Is it a 1/1? You sack it to Fog. And you also play the, it's the Dredge card that gains life. Forgot the name of it.
Not the Golgari Brown scale.
Yeah, that one.
Have you forgotten about that one? The 1 green 2/3. It would dredge and gains life.
I can name most other Dredge cards. They're not commons.
It's true.
Except for Stinkweed Imp.
I'm going to have to go make a small change though.
Okay. John is going, it's Fog on a Frog. It is definitely Fog on a Frog, and it is glorious. John is just politely asking John to use John's playmat. I'm sorry, I should stop saying John. It's an opportunity, and I'm taking it. So he's playing Commune with the Gods, which this engine that I hate that card so much. You hate that card so much?
It's a Fog Frog. It's
Come
glorious.
on, James.
James Francis MTG. How can you hate the Fog Frog? As we're going to see, it looks like a Satyr Wayfinder. Satyr Wayfinder being taken by Commune with the Gods, which is also basically just a way of filling the graveyard. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card or enchantment card from among them into your hand. The rest on the bottom in any order. And obviously the other one,
Satyr Wayfinder, is mill 4, and you can put a land into your hand.
yes. Now, when that card was in Standard, I love that card so much. It's my favourite 2-drop ever.
James Francis MTG there played Abzan Whip
Yep.
at Darksphere on a PPTQ, and it was the first PPTQ which we both attended.
Oh, nice. Very good, very good, very good. Satyr Wayfinder, 1 in green, 1/1. Pretty good blocker as well, as it turns out. We're going to see the Satyr Wayfinder here, merely revealing the top 4 cards. We see Barrymore, Golgari Rot Farm, and Mir as well. Looks like we're going to take the Rot Farm. Pretty good way of getting ahead. So basically, you need to remove it from the graveyard to have no frog in the game at all. Yeah, it's pretty savage removing the frog, the Fog Frog. God,
Yeah.
I do love the Fog
And
Frog.
exactly, you need to remove it from the graveyard. So I think game 1, John wins. Games 2 and 3, Alex hopes to find his sideboard cards. But this is purely speculation. Like, there's a bunch of other factors. If John can't assemble his engine, can Alex kill him quick enough? Because he is playing, I presume, 12 Lords?
He has a good number of muscle. Yeah, it should be the 12. It should be the muscle sliver, the predatory sliver, and the sinew sliver.
Yeah.
So players are going to have a look at the Golgari Rot Farm, replacing the Jungle Hollow. A nice little way to gain some life. We're going to see an attack here for 2. They are both 2/3, I believe. Is going to send in the attack. Reasonable amount of damage here from Sliver deck. Jonathan down to 15. We're going to see the Blossoming Sands and possibly another Lord. Looks like the Sidewinder Sliver is going to be the play for the turn. And this is the way the Sliver deck does get ahead and is able to possibly win the game. It's always going to be challenging for the creature deck to beat the unfair graveyard deck, but we shall soon find out if Alex's Slivers are able to get big enough, fast enough to get ahead. And maybe if we see a Gumag Angler this turn, it might be one way of getting back in the game. Jonathan putting some pressure on the board. We're going to see a life being gained here from the Jungle Hollow, back up to 16. See the Crypt Rats, in fact. Interesting play here from Jonathan. See if Alex has one of his Journey to Nowhere to get rid of that card before it can do too much damage. Would you like to do the honours and type in the Crypt Rats? Oh, it isn't actually saved this time on the card image viewer. But the Crypt Rats, 2 and a black. I believe it's still the Crypt Rats, yes. It is X, deals X damage to each creature and each player. Spend only black mana in this way, so obviously that is why all of his mana, all of his lands
Another
make
card
black
that
mana.
I think will help Jonathan just win this matchup, because if Alex doesn't have the Lords, you just go Wrath your board every turn.
Yep, and especially with eventually the Tormented Existence able to help him along. We can see a Muscle Sliver here from Alex. So his Slivers are now up to +2/+2, so +2/+3 each.
Yep.
Because the
Which
Sliver
means that Crypt Rats won't be able to Wrath the board.
No, it will not. It will be able to do a fair amount of damage, but not do what it wants. We see a Evolving Wild, the play for Alex, and probably a pass back of the turn. Pretty good position to be in if you're Alex, and a draw there. It looks like we have a Forest in hand, which doesn't help us cast the Crypt Rats, but what it does help us cast, if we wanted to, is a copy of Gurmag Angler.
The fish.
The Dangler Angler is pretty good, so we're going to see a Forest into play here, and we're going to see a Fog Frog.
Fog
Yes, the Fog Frog is here.
And it actually looks really nice as well. I'll bring this up for you because
It's a really cool looking card.
we first saw this card last week, and
It's so much fun. It's a Fog Frog.
it's a
It's so cool. We're going to see Deadweight targeting the Muscle Sliver, and then we're going to see...
you could appreciate the cloud in the background because you can say that there's fog behind the frog.
Yep, and Tormented Existence, also the draw for the turn. We're going to see the Gurmag Angler into play, the big 7 mana 5/5 zombie fish. Pretty good blocker on this board today at the moment. It's only a 4 for when it blocks because obviously flanking, but it's pretty big enough to kill the Sidewinder Sliver should it decide to rumble into the red zone. And obviously the Fog Frog doing a wonderful job as well.
Yeah. And now we're halfway there to the point at which I say Jonathan has got this lock on the game that Alex can't deal with.
Yeah, he does need to find the pieces of the puzzle, though, to actually get through this segment of the game. As we see Alex Wilson sacrificing his Evolving Wild to go and find one of his basics, Forest or Plains. It doesn't really matter which one it would be this time, but definitely looking at the different options. We're going to see a Plains into play for Alex.
Is that Plains foil?
It looks like it is foil. It's very pretty Plains if it is foil.
I should have done a foil count today. I love foil cards. I appreciate foils.
Yes, definitely a good shout there.
Is there any way that you think that Alex can interact with this engine in Game 1? Outside of potential sideboard cards that he would be playing main deck?
Beat down.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think that's probably the best place to start.
Yeah. Making the Lords and swinging like
Yeah.
he has been.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to put yourself in a position where you can actually win the game, and that is making as big a creature as you can, as we see a copy of Lead the Stampede here from find a Predatory Sliver and a Sentinel Sliver for Alex. Again, it's can he get there in time?
Couldn't he have combined Deadweight plus Rats to Wrath the board last turn? You can... There's... Crypt Rat says you have to use only black mana. And if Jonathan had a Swamp, I believe he could have, because he could have put Deadweight on the Muscle Sliver. So, yes.
And the Fog Frog, or Spore Frog, obviously doing a very good job here at the moment of holding off a lot of these slivers. He does have to start obviously attacking, and these slivers are getting rather large right now. They are all at +3/+4, which means that the Gurmag Angler is the only one able to rumble in the red zone here with Alex's creatures. But obviously the Fog Frog is another way. He's just going to sacrifice the Fog Frog and just go, yep, no combat damage this turn. Would rather not have you have a game plan at this point. And the Spore Frog, obviously another way of getting through your graveyard with the Tormented Existence. We're going to draw for the turn, see a Golgari Rot Farm. Maybe it's time to get that Golgari brown scale into the graveyard.
So
we're
he's
gonna
using
see
the
that
effect.
get the Golgari brown scale in the graveyard. Start the cycle with the Fog Frog. And at least I reckon right now you might be able to start maybe attacking with the Gomag Angler because you're pretty safe on defense. It is a 5/5.
I mean, you've got the frog. I'd just attack.
Yeah. I think you're pretty safe attacking at this point. You're down to 10 life, so you do need to actually start winning the game. Alex is still at 21. And yes, Slivers we've seen quite a lot as well. At least one each week someone has been playing Slivers. A very interesting deck, and for those of you who want to make synergistic big monsters is also pretty good as well, playing the Slivers deck. So what can Alex find? He has the Sentinel Sliver and another Predatory Sliver. Should he choose to start with them? Looks like he has double Sentinel Sliver in hand.
Yeah, I love
3
the
mana to
lore
start though.
on the Slivers. The idea of this hive mind of everybody working together. It reminds me of ants. With the way that ants work together. And have you seen the movie Ants?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Right. Okay. That's
The weirdest thing I've said today.
that probably is the weirdest thing you said today. 100% the weirdest thing you've said today. And that's saying something. But we're going to see instead Alex finding a Virulent Sliver and another Places Sliver off the top of his deck. Could play both of them, get them both into play. It's going to give our creatures another +0/+1. If you can spell that one. Let's see if you spelt it correctly.
Question mark, question mark, question
Question
mark.
mark. Do we have a winner? Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Tortured Existence, the 1 black enchantment. Black mana, choose and discard a creature card. Return a target creature card from graveyard to your hand. The Fog Frog, again, biting the dust into the graveyard. The question is, how does Jonathan actually win this game?
Going to be the weirdest line. He can keep dredging the brown scale, gain a bunch of life, and as he's fog frogging every turn, he can.
If you say activate the Crypt Rats, but not going to work that way.
No, but you can attack with the Gomag Angler and activate the Crypt Rats to negate the effect of a Lord.
Yep, that is true. But we're going to attack for 5. The beatdown begins.
The problem is when he gets enough Lords out that his Slivers are bigger than
the Gomag Angler. The Gomag Angler is a very good threat. Just not when your opponent's creatures are bigger than it. And that's one of the challenges that maybe Jonathan's going to run into. Alex is still at a healthy life total here of 21. Obviously, Jonathan jumping up to 12 with that Golgari brown scale activation.
So he's using mutagenic growth on the Sliver in order to make it bigger.
That's really interesting. I think that's a good idea because it does allow him to now kill the Gomag Angler, and it's starting to put Jonathan in a position where he can't really use the stuff he wants. He might activate the Crypt Rats. But again, he's going to start taking a lot of his own damage, so he's going to let that die. That's not a problem. That's gone. We're going to tap 3 mana. Activate the Crypt Rats, killing 3 damage to each Sliver, which will mean that one of the Slivers will lose a toughness when the Sliver dies. So players are going to do a quick bit of maths here, work out whether anything dies at this point. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, I think, because it is now in a position where is he actually able to do enough damage to finish the game off?
So we know that Sliver dies. Yep, that's it. I'm buying Slivers. I mean, it's a very linear deck. It's not one that I enjoy to play week in and week out, but it's something that is nice to revert back to, and it's quite fun to play.
Oh, definitely.
I enjoy interacting with my opponent and doing what they're doing. So my favourite part of the Slivers deck is when you're playing like Mutagenic Growth and Journey to Nowhere, which Alex is playing because we saw that in Lead the Stampede.
Yep, Journey to Nowhere, obviously the 2 mana Exile enchantment, obviously very powerful against big threats like the Gomag Angler.
The brown scale.
Yep, I think at this point he might be dead.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have the Fog Frog. I think Alex may just be working out something.
They're discussing something.
But this should be a lethal attack here
Yeah, it just
by Alex. Plays the Sentinel Sliver. Gives vigilance.
and then just go wee.
Attack with everything. You have a 2/3.
Yeah. Alex is just like, what's going on?
Jonathan sees the line of scoop phase, and players are going to shuffle up for game number 2. Alex going up 1 game to the good. Slivers doing what we didn't expect it to do. Like, Jonathan wasn't able to assemble the lock very quickly, or assemble it at all, and it just meant that he couldn't keep up with the Slivers, which just became too big for him to handle, especially when the Gurmag Angler bit the dust to the mutagenic growth and the Crypt Rats had to then deal with the rest of the board. Did put him in a bit of an awkward position. Jonathan Keelman not quite able to move forward with that game. Players just going to readjust the life totals, and we shall be looking at the sideboards. Do you want to start? Have a look at the sideboards that we have available to us from either side of the table. So, let's go and look online for some Slivers.
That is quite interesting to note. He did have Infinite Fog Frog available.
Yes, and mills himself out.
But you can eventually mill the Grave Scrabbler and then
Maybe.
C2.
Maybe. It'd be an interesting way of doing it, for sure.
He had 3 black sources and a green source, so you could play back to discard the... I will know the name.
Fog Frog, Spore Frog, Grave Scrabbler,
Grave Scrabbler.
Golgari Brown Scale.
That one.
That one.
To get the Grave Scrabbler. Pay black to get... Okay, then you're restricted on the lands. You can't do that.
You might just be struggling on mana, is the biggest issue with that.
Yeah.
To the point where, yes, you can Infinite Fog Frog. You might get there eventually, but
Yeah,
you're not
that's
drawing
the
any
madness
cards.
card that I'm on about. Grave Scrabbler.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wrong text. That one.
It's already in the system. Okay, so an interesting line there for Jonathan to concede. Maybe he just missed out on what the line could have been when he got to that point in the game.
It's 1 and a black. So you're restricted on mana in order to do that, because you need to do 1 black to discard the brown scale to get the Grave Scrabbler. Then you need to pay black and 1 in order to madness the Grave Scrabbler.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to be able to play your frog to make sure that you don't die.
Yep.
So he was missing out on 1 mana in order to do that lock.
Yep. Which is obviously very close to where he was going to be. Now, in terms of sideboard then, so obviously we can start with the Slivers. What sort of things could we see? Well, we could likely see things like Armadillo Cloak. I think would be fine, giving trample, being able to go over the top with the big Slivers, able to gain some life. Maybe also the Journey to Nowhere.
There is a Sliver I'm thinking of, and I do think it's an uncommon. So I'm going to search that one up before I make myself look stupid, because I really do believe it's uncommon. It is an uncommon.
Oh, shame. The Harmonic Sliver's not going to be good enough in this game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing we see. We could see things like any sort of enchantment removal is another way of dealing with these cards in the green-black sacrifice deck that can't quite set it up properly. Again, Tormented Existence is a card that you can struggle to deal with if you're a Sliver deck, if you outside of your Journeys to Nowhere. So, let's go to the side of the green-black Carrion Feeder Pauper deck.
He only had 4 mana. He had 3 black-green lands and a forest.
So not quite able to get there in that game. Let's quickly look. Here we go. So black-green Carrion Feeder. We do know Carrion Feeder's in the deck. One of the more interesting cards that can be played. It's a slightly different version because it plays Tortured Existence as well as Carrion Feeder. So quickly pull up the Carrion Feeder there.
Is that the crit spelling?
We'll soon find out.
Okay. Yes. 1 black is a 1/1 that can't block. Sacrifice creature to put a +1/+1 counter on a Carrion Feeder. I did have a quick chat with Jonathan beforehand, and I was like, you know, we had a lot of problems struggling with what your deck is doing last week. And he said, okay, showed me his deck. This does this, this does this. This works this way, this works this way. I'm like, you're playing Falcon? You're playing this? This is great.
Certainly a different way of playing the game. Works with a lot of cycling cards to be able to get the most out of the deck. So players are going to shuffle up for game number 2 here from Darkster in London, round number 3 of our coverage of our Monday night Pauper. So the sort of cards we might see, some Chainer's Edict seems pretty nice. Any sort of removal spell also seems pretty good if you have access to any of those, because obviously outside the deadweight, the deck is a little light on those abilities. It looks like we have a double forest with the Crypt Rats, Torch's Existence hand. Could be a mulligan here from Jonathan. I would definitely be interested in mulliganing if that is a hand of mono forests. Definitely not the sort of start you want with your green-black deck, which definitely very heavy on its black mana needs. But he's going to keep. So we're going to start with the forest. And I'll pass on to number 2. Does he find a black mana source? Nope, just another forest and a pass back the turn. Plain to the start for Alex. Virulent Sliver, the draw for the turn. Forest and Sentinel Sliver, I imagine, is what we will see. And the 2/2 Vigilant Sliver out, giving all other slivers a vigilance. And let's pass back. Jungle Hollow, so we have some black mana. Good place to be. Needed to maybe come a turn earlier for Jonathan, but he will soon be able to cast all of his other cards. He has the Tortured Existence in hand, as well side the Golgari Brown Scale. We see a Blossoming Sands for Alex and a Muscle Sliver, so we could be seeing the beatdowns begin very quickly for this Sliver deck. So tap 2 mana, Muscle Sliver.
Exactly,
+1/+1
and
for
as
one.
we mentioned, you need the Lords.
You certainly do. +1/+1 to all slivers. It is a 1/1 on its own. So currently we're looking at a 5 power attacking field and possibly the Blossoming Sands to follow up with. Now the difference inside of this game is Alex is off to the races very quickly. Jonathan's really not. So we're going to see a dead weight. Yep, that's going to remove the Muscle Sliver from the game. Let's try and deal with that nice and quickly. So no mutagenic growth, definitely not the best play in this one. And Commune with the Gods to follow. We're going to see, looks like a Spore Frog and 4 lands. Well, we'll definitely take the Spore Frog this time round.
Fog.
Fog Frog.
Fog.
Do love the Fog Frog.
How much fog can a frog?
A lot.
I don't. I'm going to stop.
Yeah, it's probably not the safest thing to be doing right now. I'm going to pass back the turn, see what they draw. Looks like we found a Plains for Alex. So the 4th land going to be hitting the battlefield this turn. Unfortunately, Jonathan missing his 4th land drop. Something I do find in sometimes in Pauper is because you don't necessarily play a huge amount of lands in some decks, there is a chance that you don't hit your land drops on curve. The control deck's more wanting to by playing slightly more lands.
I think part of the reason as well that he didn't hit his land drop was because he milled lands.
Yeah, he milled 4 lands. That was pretty rough if you're looking to get one off. We're going to see Virulent Sliver and the Predatory Sliver here from Alex. And the attack for 3 with a poison counter as well. So we're going to use that dice to represent the poison counter. What we will do is we'll try and get a bigger dice and put it on a card so it's a little bit easier to see.
Definitely. Unfortunately, the rule has been changed for competitive play, but of course, this is Pauper. We're all having fun. And now you see the Fog Frog along with an... I'm not going to even attempt to attempt to say that. How much fog can a Fog Frog fog if a Fog Frog could fog frogs? I did it. Yeah. And as you can see, he did fog with the frog. It's a very fun thing to say. Fog Frog. We're just trying to see if we can get a better dice to represent this for you. This lead the Stampede has hit 3 slivers, 2 of them being Lords, exactly what Alex would want if he just wants to run over Jonathan. There we go, that is a nice big dice. Round of applause for getting it right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I got the fog, how much fog would have... I did it right. I did do it right. No.
How long did it take?
First try. I did do it first try.
How much fog can a Fog Frog fog if a Fog Frog could fog frogs?
Yeah. I did it first try.
So did I.
Yeah, but
And now you have to say it 10 million times really quickly.
10 million?
Yeah, exactly. Make it more worthwhile.
Try saying anything 10 million times.
I'd have fallen asleep.
Yeah. I think it's more you'd be dead from the time that it takes
Possibly.
to say 10 million things.
You'd probably need to stop to eat at some point. We're going to see the Spore Frog and a tormented
He's lying, he never did.
He's lying, he never did it. Oh, Dominic Magic, so rude. Is that me who didn't do it, or Will who didn't do it? Is the specification, because I didn't hear Will do it, but I did it in front of everyone on the stream, and Will could hear my dulcet tones tell him that he was wrong. We're going to see.
I did it on stream.
Of course you did. But only for the viewers, I didn't get to hear you do it.
And this Tortex.
So. Plenty of slivers in play here. Pretty good position to be in if you're Alex. We're going to see another predatory sliver. Going to add up the damage very quickly here, and we're going to see a massive attack here. Spore Frog being sacrificed very quickly there by Jonathan. He's at 8 life already, definitely not wanting to take any more damage than he absolutely has to, but plenty of cards to be looking at here. The Golgari Brown scale will be a pretty nice place to start. The problem is he's struggling for mana, which means that this Sata Wayfinder might be quite good. Oh, there's a swamp there. That's a very good one to have. Thank you very much. I will take that swamp and my Gurmag Angler. Play the swamp and make... So we'll put the Golgari Brown scale in the bin.
Keep recycling for the Fog Frog.
Fog Frog in. But again, these slivers now have vigilance, and that might be a challenge to get past.
So, does Alex play any instant speed removal? Because if he does, he can kill the Fog Frog in Jonathan's end step, and then in his turn, Jonathan doesn't have a fog, and he can just go, whee, you're dead.
I don't believe so. I believe it's just Journey to Nowhere and mutagenic growth, which obviously makes it quite difficult to deal with the Spore Frog. We're going to see the sacrifice to the Spore Frog. You can see another Sentinel Sliver here. Definitely building the board up. Imagine if there's some Wrath effect that actually... Oh no, there's Pauper. There isn't one.
Crit Rats is the best that Jonathan could play, but
I think we might
be way off.
Well past the Crit Rats by now.
That ship has definitely sailed.
Has definitely sailed. So now's the challenge for you. What card is that?
I want to say it's a Viridian Corruptor.
For 2 mana?
No.
Are you sure?
No. I have no idea.
Don't look at me.
I'm actually looking at your little...
I don't recognise that artwork.
No.
So what we'll do...
I want to say Viridian something. Okay, Battlefield Scoundrel. Boom. Chat is indeed quicker than John. I'm going to give this a little read. Oh, it doesn't matter now, it's gone. Oh, it wasn't that. No, you lied to me. You lied to me. It was Viridian Emissary. You lied.
But no, they were right on the other one. They were right on the other one.
This is definitely the wrong spelling.
Viridian. It's V-I-R-I as well.
You know what? You could type it. What? See, I knew it was Viridian something because
you still can't spell it.
it's from. I play it in one of my commander decks.
Oh, nice. So it is a 2-mana 2/1 for 1 and a green. When Viridian Emissary dies, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that onto the battlefield tapped. So for your library now, the slight issue being is that it was Journey to Nowhere, which means you won't be getting the basic land from that. However, he has still got the Fog Frog every turn, and it doesn't look like that's going to be changing anytime soon, although he does start having to apply some pressure to the battlefield. So, where does Jonathan start to come back into this game? Yes, cycling the Fog Frog is obviously a good place to be generally, but he still has a very small problem of a lot of slivers on the other side of the table that he is definitely going to struggle to deal with if he can't get something into play very soon.
I found a very bad way that he could win.
Okay, hit me with it. Not literally, figuratively, hit me with it.
Stinkweed Imp is
okay,
flying.
Yep, and it blocks everything. It also kills anything it blocks.
It's
Think
flying.
die. Yeah.
Is the main thing.
Yep. You need an extra mana to be able to do that.
So find a land.
Yes.
It's problematic. There's so many different thought processes in this deck that it's hard to know what's going on.
And that's just from us being up here in the commentary box.
Must be even worse for Jonathan trying to pilot this deck.
Yep, one's empty now.
Discard the fish, get back the frog.
Here you go. These are all ice.
That spell.
Aha, that's going to be a challenge for you.
I have no idea what that is.
So I'm going to go and have a look at that one as well then.
A round of can chat be quicker than John? And chat actually get it right this time. The white spell that Alex cast. If I have to specify it to you, Donald K. Magic. Right. Alexi got it.
Was I beaten by the chat again?
You was beaten by the boss.
I was beaten by the boss. Okay, that's definitely worse people to be beaten by.
Yep.
100% agree on that.
Donald wasn't quick enough. Hasn't redeemed himself. Not just yet. Ray of Levitation. It's 1 and a white, destroy target enchantment, and it's got flashback for 1 white. Very good sideboard card to have against
It flashes back
for
a
green.
forest.
Okay, but the point is, you get rid of the tortured existence, you get rid of the engine.
Which means if he can't find another Fog Frog or a Torch's existence, he's dead this turn.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, my predictions is game 1, Alex would have to run him over, which he did. Games 2 and 3, he would have to find his sideboard cards, which he did. So I'm gun shy from a shameful defeat earlier, also sleeving. What deck are you sleeving? It better be Pauper.
So I imagine at this turn we will see a rather large attack from the Slivers deck. I imagine for lethal damage as well, or at least maybe lethal poison instead. See which of the poison, whether it's poisonous or lethal damage, that can be achieved down on this battlefield. Well, Donald K. Magic, I believe that sleeving is the best thing to spend in your evening. Just finished Boris. Next up, Affinity. How many Pauper decks do you own, sir?
I own 2.
You own 2. I own 1.
A grand total of 2.
I own 1. It's lovely to look at.
It is lovely to look at.
It's very nice.
I have one problem with it.
Which is what?
It's not foil.
Always the foil problems with you, Will.
Always the foil problems.
Always the foil.
I've almost finished.
You're like a magpie. You like shiny things.
I really do like shiny things.
To see a big attack here this turn from the Slivers. Actually try and work out if this is lethal. I'm sure it's not just lethal on the spot.
It feels like it would be.
Well,
there's 3 predatory slivers. So that's... 3 of the creatures should just be lethal on their own.
yeah. He's
Get
gonna,
-6.
There we go.
-7.
To put him down to -7.
Sure.
And the Sliver,
That's great.
the Sliver deck in the control of Alex Wilson takes down Tortured Existence,
15.
Green-Black Sacrifice, 2 games to 0. A match that we didn't expect to go that way, actually. It was much... We did think it was going to be a lot more in the favour of the Green-Black deck, because you're looking at a sort of a very synergistic deck that is looking to overpower its opponents. But in fact, that's exactly what the Slivers deck did. It did the synergistic overpowering of its opponent by playing massive monsters.
Definitely. I want to say that my predictions were correct.
But they weren't, because you said that Green-Black was going to win.
No, I said that Green-Black was favoured. However, Alex's way to win would be to overpower him in Game 1, which he did. In Game 2, find his sideboard cards, which he did in Ray of Revelation. So... I was right and you were wrong.
I never actually committed who was going to win the game, so you can't be wrong if you don't give an option, which I probably should have done. I should have taken the bull by the horns and given the results. But Slivers taking it down. It was a piece of paper. Oh, just quickly past the judge. Back his piece of paper. I did try to stab his foot with a pen by accident, throwing it off the table. It missed catastrophically instead, which does mean that Slivers marches on to, actually interesting enough, 1-1-1.
Where did he draw?
Sorry, no, 2-1 because he lost and then had a win. So one of the things we try to do for those of you who aren't sure. So what we're saying, there are people who will be going to 3-0. Now we do things slightly different at Pauper Night. We don't want to repeat people on camera. We want to get 8 different players each week on camera, which does mean that sometimes we have to go away from the top tables. Now the first 3 tables of this round were all people who we'd had on, or at least one person within the match we'd had on camera. So we brought you table 4. Now, in my mind, that's the best way to do it. Because you get to see 8 different matches. Well, you get 4 different matches with 8 different players. What it means is that they're more likely to have 8 different decks. Not quite the same with round 2, where we have the Tron mirror. It's all right, mate. Don't worry. You may
No,
not
it's fine. It's over now. I've seen Slivers and Tortured Existence. I'm happy again.
He has.
It was a very fun.
His centre has been reasserted. He's able to re-coordinate his being once again. And I think that's the thing about Pauper that you have to bear in mind. Is it's such a diverse and open meta game. Like we have elf players here. We have people with blue-black control. We have people with affinity. We have people with we have multiple graveyard decks. We have obviously the Sliver deck. We have the Kuldotha deck. The ones we saw earlier today, and also obviously the Tron decks as well. But it is such a diverse and open format that actually you can play anything you want. And one of the things with Pauper, and again, it does link back to how open it is there isn't a right deck to play.
Definitely. You can tell that's true because Donald K. Magic has about 15-ish.
That is mini Pauper. I would also guarantee that those 15 Pauper decks cost less than my Legacy deck.
Probably costs less than 2 cards in your Legacy deck.
Yeah, Underground Sea is about 300 quid now, isn't it?
Pardon?
Underground Sea is at least 300 plus now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably more like 2 other cards in my deck then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the wonderful thing about Pauper is it's not the only one. Coolest guy, he doesn't know where it's from. Do you not remember that one?
What?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you later on. It's fine.
It's
fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
It's really not. Explain this.
No. I'll explain it later on because this is a bit of a childish one. Because you said it's not the only one. Did you know that Tigger's is not the only one? So I just changed it. Did you ever watch Winnie the Pooh when you were younger? I have a little boy, so I watch this all the time, and he's loved it. I very much love my little boy very
I
much.
watched one thing of Winnie the Pooh, and that was like the Heffalump story.
Okay, so part of it is obviously Tigger has a song, I suppose. The wonderful thing about Tigger's is that I'm the only one.
No,
But that's the song, and that was the joke.
What?
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It was a joke that you really clearly don't understand.
I just don't understand you.
Your deprived childhood. You didn't get to enjoy these things. You saw one of them. That was the whole.
Sorry if I spent the majority of it in the hospital.
That's unfortunate to hear.
Yeah. It's fine. Anyway, Pauper, not Winnie the Pooh.
Okay, going back to Pauper then. Going back onto the other side. It was a good joke, okay? Leave my jokes alone. It was a good one to have. But going back to Pauper, one of the benefits is that you can own huge numbers of different decks. And there are so many different decks that you can play anything. You can pick any deck. You can play anything. As I say, we've got Elves players. We've got blue-black control players. None of those... Someone liked my joke.
No. But Donald K. Magic said it's a stretch.
It's a stretch. Oh goodness. But going back to
I just got that joke.
It's been a hard day for Will. He's been struggling today.
That was a good joke though.
It was a good
that was a much better joke than your joke.
Chat is always on form as always. The chat for Pauper is always really good. Like, it's insanely good, actually, how good the chat is on Pauper nights. It's just people are actually more awake than we are. Just come up with
Definitely
the jokes.
more
we come
awake
up with the puns. Chat comes up with the jokes. But obviously, so just going back to just segmenting away, a little bit off piece there. One of the things that I would always encourage for people who play Pauper is have a deck and then get another one. Or borrow another one. Because then you can have 2 people play the format. You can go to an F&M and say to an opponent, would you like to play a game of Pauper, sir? I don't own a deck. There you are, sir. There's my second deck.
Definitely. And like we were mentioning earlier, someone was asking, what are 2 decks that you would recommend? Anything. Literal anything. What do you like to play? What do you like to play against? What do you think players like to play? What do you think players like to play against? Build those 2 decks and have fun. Because that's all you will do with Pauper. Because that's all that anyone wants to do with Pauper.
And I think so. Here's a very interesting story regarding to happiness of people playing Pauper. So, one of the guys who I know, Adam, who plays at Duxbury, you may know him, you may not. Very nice guy, very good player. Was playing Standard at Friday Night Magic, and he finished his round against his opponent. And his opponent turned to him and said, "Finished? Would you like to play a game of Pauper?" And Adam goes, "Yes, I would." Reaches in his bag to pull out his Pauper deck. Obviously, the guy assumed that he wouldn't have one and pulled like 3 on the table. And the look of joy on this guy's face when he realised that Adam had his own Pauper deck, he just eyes lit up. And that's one of the really nice things, is that it's a format that you don't take very seriously, or you shouldn't do, because it's a fun format.
Yeah.
And because of that, you don't take it too seriously, and it's an enjoyable one, because all the decks are on a fairly similar power level. It's very level, it's very open, and that's one of the... this is what it should be in terms of formats, is that you should be able to play pretty much anything and have fun. And to see the look on his opponent's face from Standard when suddenly they're playing Pauper, and this guy was just like... They played about 4 games of Pauper and had more fun than they had with the Standard.
Well, that's understandable, because Pauper is a much more enjoyable format than Standard. Especially
Yes.
Standard now.
Standard's really good right now. You don't play it, so you would have no idea. Trying to tell this man what deck's playing Standard is hilarious.
Play something green. Okay.
But it's true. It's really good. But there's no one... that's the other thing, actually. One of the interesting things, Pauper, there's no one colour which is more dominant than any others.
Right.
Yes, there are more prevalence, but if blue was that best colour by that much, you wouldn't have any other decks being played, would you? So it shows you that actually the other colours are pretty strong in this format. If you look, what's the best mid-range deck? Probably Boris Kuldotha.
Probably,
If you want a deck that buries you under card advantage, that's not blue. You can play blue if you want to.
But the main version isn't blue.
No,
You're splashing blue for 1 card.
Yeah, and possibly some sideboard cards as well.
Yeah.
And I like Pauper because it's close to my old memories of Kitchen Top. Yeah, it is. It's the way it was. The way the format has developed. People haven't particularly played this competitively. It's built from kitchen table Magic when people played what they own, and the fact that it's a deck full of commons means that it is so accessible. Not in terms of cost or anything, just in card availability.
Definitely.
Sure, there are some cards which are hard to get hold of. Sure, I can go in the binders and look for a few spells that I can't find, but generally, if you went anywhere, you went to a new store, you could look through the box of commons and find what you're looking for. One of the interesting things that we should do for a challenge, if ever someone else does the coverage, is build a deck out of the draft commons box.
That would be hilarious.
And it also probably would be fine as well. And actually, it would be a fairly average deck, and it wouldn't be terrible. You could play a deck out of a box of draft commons, and you could build a reasonable deck and have fun with it, because that's what the format is. And actually, the commons from some of the more recent sets are actually quite good. Think of Moment of Craving has found its way straight into the black decks.
Definitely. Or hopefully there'll be
Thraben
some...
Inspector. Was that common or uncommon?
I think that was... It was a common. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really good, right? Okay, so there's a few really
Yeah,
good
Inspector Gadget was indeed a common.
Oh, not as everyone's finished then. Still playing. Excellent. So we've still got maybe 1 or 2 tables. I think it's blue-black versus elves is still going. No idea how, but sure. But again, that's the thing, right? Everything is common, is really good. It's really accessible. Don't try and foil it, because you won't find foil Thraben Inspectors. Apparently, they're impossible to come by.
But you can foil very...
Tarmogoyfs. Apparently, it's easier to foil Tarmogoyfs than it is to foil your Thraben Inspectors. That's terrifying.
I traded a lot for that.
I am sure you did.
I traded 4 Cryptic Commands, 4 Snapcaster Mages, and put £150 in.
For what? 1?
And put my 4 Goyfs in for my set of Goyfs.
Oh, so... oh, my goodness me. I wouldn't have done that. I would rather own 4 Cryptics, 4 Snapcaster Mages, 4 normal Tarmogoyfs.
Oh, they were all spares.
And 100... This man owns too many modern cards.
I love modern.
You play the wrong format, dude. You should be playing this all the time. It's much interesting.
I play this on Modo.
How many decks could you have for your playset of foil Tarmogoyfs?
I own the format.
Okay, that's pretty good as well. I like that. I own the format. Apart from Oubliette. That card's about 90 ago.
Yeah, I own the format.
Pretty good. It wouldn't be a bad thing to own. And I think, like, that's the thing. We moving away from it all, back to the kitchen table Magic. It's something that you can do at the kitchen table. And because normally what you find with commons is they generally have less difficult rules.
Yeah, like there's less of an awkward interactions between certain things. Like, if you look at other formats, Blood Moon used to cause so many judge calls. How does this work? Spellskite, the same sort of
Courser
problem.
of Crufix. Speaking of things that are difficult. But if you look at commons, like if you look at all the matches here, actually it's fairly much on board that you see it.
Yeah.
There's very few like, oh my goodness, I don't understand how this works. They're fairly self-explanatory. There are very few people who like try to do the Oblivion Ring bounce effect. But at the same time, what it does do is it allows you to play in a way that allows you to teach new players. And honestly, if you were a new player starting Magic, now I've experienced this format, I would say start with Pauper. If you're a brand new player to Magic, start with Pauper.
Yeah,
You'll have a deck, week 1, that will be good. And this is the other thing. You will have a good competitive deck, week 1. None of this, oh, I've only got half a deck and I'm having to play these really bad cards in Standard. You have a full deck, week 1. It will teach you all the rules, interactions you need to learn about sorceries, instants, creatures, combat, spells, whatever. You'll have an immense amount of fun, and you will definitely get the most out of the format. And the most out of Magic, because it's a fun format, it's not taken too seriously, and it will teach you everything you need to know. And you'll probably learn more than playing Stand because there are less awkward interactions. It's a lot more in sort of upfront on the cards.
definitely. And I think if you're trying to improve at the game, it will teach you the fundamentals that you need, like combat maths, card advantage, those basic things that you need to know if you want to win a game of Magic.
Yeah. And again, like you say, you don't need to own Tarmogoyfs to play a good deck. And you'll be at a level as someone else straight away in terms of deck power, which is obviously a wonderful thing to do. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a very short break. We have about 45 seconds left on the round. We're going to disappear for a few minutes while the judge puts the results into the screen, and then we'll be back for round number 4 of coverage here from a Darkster in London. Hopefully you will all join us back for round number 4. We shall see you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final round of Monday Night Pauper here from Darkshire in London. John Partridge, Will Leach here to take you through the final bit of coverage. We have Black-White Pestilence versus Mono-Black Control. We're going to send it down to the feature match area. The players are ready. Are you ready?
Yep.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I'm.
Will is gazing off into space as we wait for the match to go. We're going to give the players a thumbs up and we'll be ready to go. So we're going to remove this terrible white card and instead we're going to look at the main card from the deck. We're going to cycle a Baron Moore here from Maxwell Lee and his mono black deck. Chainer's Edict, the draw for the turn. Looks like we have a Swamp, Disfigure, and everything else. Pestilence, 2 black enchantment. At the end of turn, if there are no creatures in play, sacrifice Pestilence. Black mana, Pestilence deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. So, going to see a Chittering Rats here from the mono black player. Putting a card back on top of the library, looks like he put a Plains back. So the 3 mana 2/2 into play. Looks like we've got another land. So we have the Orzhov Basilica, the draw for the play for the turn. So we're going to see an attack for 2, the 4th Swamp into play. This is obviously based around a Grey Merchant of Asphodel as the win condition. And we're going to see the Thorn of the Black Rose. Maxwell becomes the Monarch, which means that so if you're the Monarch at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card. If you take damage, you lose the Monarch, and you are no longer the Monarch. We're going to see the Guardian of the Guildpact. It's monocoloured. Protection from monocoloured.
Chat was just talking about Monarch in Pauper as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they're very convenient that it has now appeared onto our illustrious screens. So, here we go. So, Monarch. So, hang on. Planes. Wow, really? Wow, that's very interesting. So, let's go back to it. So, new pleasure start with Pauper and a 1 month pass from playing against Tron.
Agreed. Agreed.
Pauper is like magic without the fluff. Playing without Planeswalkers is also a plus in my opinion. Planeswalkers change that, make a play a bit too much for my liking. Monarch is almost like that, but I think it's fine and constructed. I avoid them in cube though. I like the Monarch in EDH. Both the Pauper Monarch cards are high costed enough, as we see one in play here. Thorn of the Black Rose, the 1/3 Death Touch creature. Pauper was in my old days. I think the Monarch is fine. It does mean we get a lot of different things. So let's see. Maybe the Disfigure will assist with the removal of this creature. Yep, it's going to go and hit the bin. Take 2 damage, Zach, and drop down to 15 at the moment. So we're going to draw an additional card in the end step. Now we have a Pestilence in hand by the looks of it.
So as somebody
So we're going to deadweight the Chittering Rats.
who doesn't know much about this deck, how does it work? It obviously uses Pestilence. So
it's a creature-based deck,
Yep.
white, with a couple of good pieces of removal, and Pestilence. But obviously Pestilence also works when your opponent has creatures in play. And I'll tell you what, the Thorn of the Black Rose is going a long way to win this game at the moment. We're going to see Unearth bring back the Chittering Rats, and we're going to put a card back on top of Zach's library. And we're going to... that looks like there is another Unearth, actually. And we're going to see Sign in Blood as well. Maxwell Lee going to drop down to 18. Definitely on the front foot here with the amount of card draw that his deck has available to it. This is a huge amount of card draw that he's been able to find. As we see Wings of the Orzhova. Looks like the draw for the turn, the foil one, by the looks of it, for Maxwell Lee.
I played Black-White Pestilence this weekend. I like this deck.
I like it a lot as well. It's a very interesting deck. I bet it basically doesn't lose to elves. It lands a Pestilence and kills everything.
Yeah.
Obviously it then dies, but it lands a Pestilence and kills everything.
Yeah, but it's at end of turn. So I assumed that the main play would be play Pestilence, next turn wrath everything, then play your thing so it doesn't die.
So we have the Crypt Rats here for Maxwell Lee. Another win condition enabled onto the battlefield. Probably not really going to be activating it anytime soon, but Zach already dropping it down in life totals down to 15, just taking 1 a turn. Not the most devastating beats, but will certainly end up doing some work, especially if this Crypt Rats is on the other end of it. So we're going to see 3 mana being tapped. We're going to see a Crypt Rats of his own. Pretty nice place to be. Well, effectively raft the board if he chooses to do that, but no, we're going to... Yep, we're going to kill everything.
It's interesting that Maxwell decided to do that.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's...
Maybe he feels
fine.
that he's so far ahead in the game that...
Oh, I think he is. Like, look how many extra cards he's drawn this game. And he has another...
Look how many lands are out. This is how many turns have gone.
And he's
so
played a land
quickly.
every turn. He's definitely been very ruthless as we see an unearth here for Maxwell Lee. Probably going to get the Chittering Rats back out, put something back on top of Zach's library, meaning that he can only do one thing. Instead, we're going to see... Sorry, excuse me. We're going to see the Crypt Rats is the draw for the turn, and what we're going to play, and we're going to put Gift of the All's Over on top of it. So for those...
I played that in Standard.
Was it in was it in a Naya Hexproof deck?
Naya?
Yeah. Yeah, Naya.
No, I played this in Mono Black Devotion.
Okay, sure.
It was a really good card in the mirror.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And everybody.
You need to spell it.
Gift
of All's Over.
Yeah.
Yes, so there we go. Gift of All's Over. 1 hybrid black white. +1/+1 flying and lifelink. We're going to suit it up with 2 of them instead, and we're going to see a big attack here. And we're also going to follow it with the Grey Merchant of Asphodel for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and lethal. Good game, well played. Unfortunately,
You didn't do anything, and now you're dead.
Yeah, an unfortunate position for Zach to be in. They're not quite able to get there far enough in the game, so players are going to look at their sideboards now. We see the Relic of Progenitus looks like another Thorn of the Black Rose. That was a very quick bring in. The Relic I like.
That game was over in 5 minutes.
Yes, you also don't really know what your opponent is bringing in as well, so there is an element of guessing. But we see the Thraben Inspectors there in the white deck. Looks like we're getting rid of our Nile spell bombs. Not quite the position we want to be in. Interesting choice of lands here for Zach. All the unstable lands. He is definitely a fan of the unstable lands.
I love them. They are gorgeous.
Okay. What's your favourite land?
What, of all time?
Yeah, we'll do the all-time one, and then we'll do your set. What's your favourite one of all time? Actually, let's do these. What's your favourite lands of a set?
Of a set?
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting one.
Okay, then...
of a set, I'd actually go for the Lorwyn lands.
Right, okay.
Because I was Googling this the other day for lands for my deck.
Right, okay.
I really just like the artwork on them. If those artworks were full art, they'd be my favourite.
Okay, that's fair enough. So what's your favourite land?
My favourite basic land.
Yeah, of course it's basic. We're not doing dual. What's your favourite dual land then?
Tropical Island, because it allows me to cast Alluring.
That's not a reason to like the most. Okay, sure. What's your favourite basic land?
Forest, because it allows me to cast Armor Queen.
Oh, why do I deal with this every week? What did I do in a past
It's
life
literally
to
the
deserve
second
this?
week.
What did I do in a past life to deserve this?
You're the one who invited me.
That's true. Mistake number 1, invite Will to do coverage. Okay, so what's your favourite basic land then, without being the really silly answer?
The Unhinged Swamp, because it's the only one that I've got foil.
Right, okay, that's a much better reason. Don't encourage him.
It's actually, out of that cycle...
All the unset basic lands are...
Yeah, out of that cycle of Unhinged, I believe that Swamp looks the best. I'm a fan of the unglued border, but not a fan of the artwork within the border.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
And
fair enough.
I like Unstable. But I'm not a fan of the border on everything but the Swamp.
Sure.
And the Swamp to me, I'm just like, I'd rather have the Unhinged
that's fair
Swamp,
enough.
because it's basically the same artwork but better. What about you? What's your favourite?
Definitely not the unsets.
I feel like you're going to call some really old set that's white bordered and you're going to go like 6th.
Revised Island.
Oh, of course it is.
White bordered Revised Island. You've asked me this before and I gave you the same answer.
It looks really nice.
A Revised Island is really nice. I've got to say probably my favourite land set is probably the same set. Revised lands.
It's really
They're so nice.
There's a... Starting the game with a Relic.
Yes.
That's really helpful.
And a Legion Zealots as well. I do like this Legion Zealot. It's fitted very nicely into these decks. As we Castigate here from Zach Blundell.
I don't know if it's EA or AE.
It's EA. It's High Legion's ally, isn't it? Soon find out if I can spell the card as well. None of us can spell apparently today.
While I'm here, let's do this. Before boss tells us off.
Oh yeah.
Because that game was over very quickly.
Yes, it certainly was.
So Maxwell doesn't have the same sort of...
Oh, sorry. That's how you do it.
Oh, Dusk.
So, Dusk Legion Zealot. The new card from the most recent set rivals Vixalan, a black and a white 1/1. Looks like we have looks like we have a removal spell on the side of Zach. One of the invocation artwork there. Why is it not liking it this time if I hit save?
I don't see the problem.
Oh, I
There
didn't
we
hit
go.
save. That's why. So, Destiny Zeal, 1 and a black 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life, which seems pretty good as an offset. And we're going to see Grey Merchant of Asphodel enter the battlefield. A drain and gain of 2 here for Maxwell Lee.
Which for Gary is a pretty weak drain.
So we're going to see an attack here from this creature. We're going to play a Core Skyfisher as his creature for the turn. And we're going to see a Lone Missionary here for Zach, putting himself back up to 22 life. The 2/1 doing some decent work in this matchup. We see another Swamp the draw here for Maxwell. He needs to try and find a way of getting this Core Skyfisher off the table before it does too much more damage. We're going to see a Crit Rats into play. I think this would be a interesting play there rather than just going up for the Grey Merchant as another play. Here we see the Crit Rats.
Just saying, there's your board. I've still got this Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Yep. I've got this clock that
4
you
toughness
don't.
is pretty good. And we will definitely do what we can to get a hold of the deck list from the black-white player. We'll probably try and get that posted up on the Darkside page. We need to ask the boss about that one, how he best wants to run it. We're going to see some mana being tapped for another Core Skyfisher here. We're going to see an untap. And what could be another Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Looks like a disfigure the draw for the turn. I don't mind to hear an attack. And we're going to play a Thorn of the Black Rose. Become the Monarch. Interesting, no attack. It's really strange that he's not attacking there, especially with the disfigure in hand, ready to get away with it.
I'm not sure about that attack either.
So we're going to see white mana being tapped, and a Thraben Inspector, and a Guardian of the Guild Pact. Protection from mono-coloured. Interesting enough, the disfigure was used in the...
I thought Guardian was multicoloured.
It's...
Let's just bring it up. That is definitely the best.
Yep. I believe it's mono-coloured. No, it might be multicoloured, actually. So we're going to see protection from mono-coloured.
Okay, you were right. I was wrong.
Makes a change. Makes a nice change.
Oh, so you admit you're usually wrong?
Never proven to be wrong.
I mean, you were proven to be wrong about last round.
So we're going to see the Chainer's Edict dealing with the Thraben Inspector and an attack for Core Skyfisher for 2. Very interestingly enough, Zach now becomes the Monarch. And especially with a very good 2/3 blocker here, he's going to get to draw an extra card this turn, which will mean that it will force Maxwell to attack with at least 2 creatures next turn. We're going to see a Lone Missionary in hand, and Thorn of the Black Rose has unfortunately started to betray Maxwell and let the opponent become the Monarch and draw some extra cards, not run away with it quite as much this turn. So we have 1 clue in play, the nice full art clue from the Unstable set, used as the full art rather than the foil version. And for those of you, so round number 4 of 4. Each
is the final round.
Yes, each of the evenings we have when we do Magic, we have obviously Monday night Pauper, Tuesday night Legacy, and Wednesday night Modern, and we are 4 rounds of each one.
Oh. Zach's got a pretty interesting record.
Got a draw somewhere.
Yeah.
So what else was on camera? So in round 1 we had Jeskai Kuldotha versus Blue Black Control. Round number 2 we had the 5-color Tron mirror. Never thought I'd be saying that one, but we did. In the last round, what did we have?
It was Slivers versus the Tortured Existence deck.
Green Black Tortured Existence, and obviously the final round we have Black White Pestilence versus Mono Black Control. So a good variation of different decks to see, which is obviously what you want to see. When you come to watch Pauper, what we try and do, as always, is put 8 different players on camera. No matter the records, we'll always try and look for new players on camera. Keeps it fresh, keeps it interesting, and it means that we get to see possibly 8 new decks, which is definitely what we have seen today. So we're going to see a big attack, and we're going to see it pass back the turn.
Barrenmore.
Looks like we're going to Barrenmore. Cycle for a Chittering Rats.
I hate that card.
We're going to see a Dusk Legion Zealot here as well. Draw for the turn. And obviously for Ups My Dudes, if you want to see more Pauper, you can either join us every Monday from 7 o'clock in the evening, where we'll have 4 rounds each Monday. Or if you want to, you can go to the Dark Sphere YouTube channel, where all of our Pauper coverage is uploaded each week for your indulgence to get to watch. It's definitely something that we try to do. We try to always, each week, try to do more and more bits and pieces of Magic. It's a shame you aren't able to join us. It'd be very good to obviously have more people coming for Pauper. So yes, Dark Sphere YouTube is the backup if you want to go and watch some coverage there, and obviously we do it live every Monday from 7 o'clock. So Guardian of the Guild Pact, protection from monocolour, doing a lot of work here. 2 mana being tapped. We're going to get rid of the clue, draw an extra card, see what we can find. At the top of our deck we found a swamp. So another nice land drop. Try and get ourselves
Well, he knew it was
towards
on top of his deck.
Not that one he didn't, because he'd already drawn for the turn. Chittering Rats puts 1 card back on top. That's a clue to be cracked. We see another Guardian of the Guild Pact. No attack though, but we're going to see what looks like a return of the Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Lethal damage.
Yep. That
was
3.
Out of nowhere. Mono Black.
You.
Yeah, Mono Black Control takes takes down Black White Pestilence very quickly. Actually, I did not expect it to be that fast. A couple of good threats and some pretty decent removal.
Due to the power of Chittering Rats. I hate
Really?
that card.
Power of Chittering Rats. Okay, you explain to me. Power of Chittering Rats.
You're like this. It's basically putting them off for a turn. It's basically skip your next draw step.
Sorry, repeat that one to me.
Okay, shut up.
Power of Chittering Rats.
I hate that.
No, do explain it. So, Chittering Rats is a card. It's a 1/black 2/2, which when it enters the battlefield, your opponent puts a card from his or her hand back on top of his or her library.
Yeah.
What is the power of? Why is that so powerful in Pauper?
So, your draw steps are really valuable. You saw both of those players playing these spells that draw cards.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying I'm denying you access to draw a card, draw a fresh card,
Yep.
then the majority of the plays that they'd want to make, they can't.
Okay, because they're obviously having to draw that same card each time, which means that they're not able to look any deeper into the deck to maybe find the answer they're looking for. And if their hand's a little cluttered, maybe with excess lands or uncastable spells, you're forcing them to effectively draw a really bad card in the meantime. So, Mono Black doing a very good job of very quickly taking down Black White Pestilence. And do you think that was to the script, or do you just think that was a little bit of a fantastic draw from the Mono Black deck?
Mono Black did what Mono Black does. It played its stuff how it usually on curve like it usually does, and Grey Merchant of Asphodel was both games. That Grey Merchant were pretty weak in terms of what it's capable of, and
the devotion was not very high.
Exactly. So, in my opinion, that deck can do more than what it did.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a Gift of Allsover on a crit Rats.
Yeah. 2 of them, in fact.
Exactly.
So 3/3 flying lifelink. It did, however, mean that the Grey Merchant of Asphodel dealt 8 damage when it entered the battlefield, which seems pretty good.
Yeah, that's the power
That's
level
the
which
power
I'm
level.
used to Grey Merchant at.
Yes, that's definitely much more than the deal you 4 at the end. However, that does bring us to the end of our coverage here for our Monday Night Pauper. It has been a fantastic journey yet again, and I cannot wait to try my own hand at some games of Pauper, but also I cannot wait for next Monday, where we get to bring you even more live coverage from here in Darksphere in London. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to Larian Community College for the raid earlier with your viewers. And I hope for those of you who are still joining us from the Larian Community College, you will remember us at Darksphere in London. We will bring you Pauper every Monday, and it'll be very nice of you to join us yet again if you have the time. Thank you very much for watching. Just as a reminder, YouTube channel Darksphere does have all of our archive coverage of our Pauper, but also has the coverage of our fellows from the Legacy and Modern division. We hold Monday Night Pauper, Tuesday Night Legacy, and Wednesday Night Modern, as well as our weekend winner boxes and our Friday Night Magics. I can't wait for next weekend. Well, next weekend and next week. I can't wait for some more Pauper action. Will may be joining me. Maybe someone else will have to wait and see.
It depends if he invites me again.
Oh, don't
makes
give me
that mistake.
Don't give me that. It's been good fun, and it always is.
Yeah, it was really fun.
But thank you very much for watching. We will see you next week. Good night.
Bye.